Chris Paul is now teammates with Steph Curry to create a perfect pairing on the Warriors, and while it was working great, they weren't always on the same side, and they used to be rivals in the playoffs. CP3 has never earned a ring in his career, and in a large part, it was due to the success of Curry running the West, but I wonder if history would be the same if the circumstances were flipped. While CP3 won't be our main focus, I'm sure we'll see lots of him as he matches up with Steph, who we will be focusing on in the trajectory he takes as we witness Steph Curry with Chris Paul's career. We're starting off Steph's new career in 2006 as he's joining the New Orleans Hornets as a rookie. In his rookie year, he was instantly put on the map as a high-octane scorer with star capabilities. It was definitely a different playstyle than CP3's would have been, but it would still be producing the same results with a Rookie of the Year trophy headed home with Steph. And while Steph was finding great personal success, the same couldn't be said about the Hornets. Tyson Chandler was the one bright spot as a talented center, but much like CP3's time here, the supporting cast was young and inexperienced, and as a result would struggle to make any major pushes, and this opening season would be a major failure. The following year, Steph was good enough to already earn an all-star appearance, and his team was seeing an improvement as well, with talented David West joining the team at power forward. While this season would still end up falling short of earning a playoff spot, it was undeniable that the Hornets were taking a step in the right direction, and Steph would surely be in the postseason very soon. And I really meant very soon, because it'd be the very next season as they'd easily make the cut for the playoffs. This was by no surprise fueled by a rapidly improving Steph Curry, who was taking the league by storm with his never before seen levels of shooting. In just his third season, he had completely flipped around the narrative about the Hornets, and with no pun intended, he had all the buzz around the NBA as he was heading into the postseason. Steph was finally making his first playoff appearance, and it would be versus the Rockets. Their headline was Yao Ming, who towered over everyone else down low, but honestly, their greatest option on the team was the thrilling Tracy McGrady, who at this point was a respected veteran of the NBA. Although it didn't seem like Steph got the memo that the Rockets were the clear favorites, because he was going on the road in Houston's home turf to embarrass them in the first two games. The Rockets were relying on Steve Francis to slow down Steph, and it simply wasn't a fair matchup until we would see an adjustment come game 3. Once this series headed into New Orleans, the Rockets decided to switch up the matchup and put their best defender of Shane Battier on Steph, who would get under his skin. While Steph was still having worthwhile play, the Rockets were able to take advantage of a few extra stops, and it made all the difference in this matchup. T-Mac was swishing his shot after shot anytime the Hornets offense fell short, and even though it was a hard-fought series, Steph wouldn't be seeing a win past those first two and was officially back to the drawing board. And he was going to be stuck at that drawing board for a while, because the very next season he was dealing with an ankle injury which would cost his team their chances of making the playoffs, which would be the least of Steph's worries as Tyson Chandler was leaving for Charlotte. Chandler was a massive part of the Hornets on both offense and defense, and now Steph would be left without his second best option. There were murmurs that Steph wanted out of New Orleans, but for now his focus was winning games and trying to make the playoffs against all odds. And his performance looked like he was going to be able to do just that and drag this awful roster all the way into the postseason action. But even with Steph's season-long masterclass performance, they would get close but couldn't land a trip to the playoffs. If Curry's team had a higher seed, he certainly would have won an MVP, but for now he was going to have to wait and focus on season 6. Going into season 6, Steph was a clear superstar with an uncanny knack for scoring, and without much help around him, he was carrying New Orleans. But yet again, the major question would be just how far could he carry them? This team had no identity on defense, and on offense their only game plan was get Steph the ball and let him get busy. Unfortunately, this was not a formula for success, and Curry was going to miss the playoffs another year and was absolutely fed up with the losing situation in New Orleans. Yet another losing season for Steph, a couple of wins away from making the playoffs. He averaged 33 points per game and still can't get it done. He needs a change of scenery, and luckily he's about to get one. At the start of the next season, a trade to the Lakers would be all but done before being vetoed, and in turn Curry would end up being shipped out to the Clippers. This was instantly a better situation for Curry, entering a team with potential to win. He finally had a legit co-star alongside him with Blake Griffin, who was just entering his prime, and while at the moment the team lacked depth outside the starters, this would still be Curry's best framework around him yet. Even with his new team though, he was still missing the playoffs again, but things were turning around in year 2 with LA as Steph was finally going back into the playoffs. While his team adding more depth was a big help, it was more so just Steph entering a completely different stratosphere. By now you could honestly make the argument that Steph may be the best player in basketball. We all knew he was great in our timeline, but in this reality, with little help, it must have elevated his game to an even higher level, and it was showing. And finally in year 8, Steph Curry is getting an MVP to go along with the playoffs. Now we have to see, can he finally win a series, because in 8 seasons he has yet to win a single series in the playoffs. Steph was quickly making up for lost time over the past 7 seasons because he was blasting through his matchups, starting with the Lakers, who he originally wanted to join. After failing to get Curry, they moved on to get Nash and Dwight, but it was evident that they got the short end of the stick as Steph maintained his high play from the regular season and was winning the Battle of LA in an easy 5-game series. Following that, he was facing CP3 for the first official time, but this was a one-sided battle because Paul was only in year 4 and his supporting cast was also inexperienced, which will result in Steph and the Clippers sweeping him in round 2. But that's where Curry's storybook fantasy was going to end as the Clippers entered Memphis. The Grizzlies were a veteran team that had playoff experience already, and they were filled out with gritty, hard-working players. The Clippers hadn't felt this pressure in the playoffs to this point, and they'd be unprepared for the Grizzlies' strategy, and Curry's run would come to a stop. But right away in the following year, Steph already worked his way back into the playoffs for round 1 versus the Trailblazers, who featured a young Damian Lillard. This season, the Clippers would be creating their own version of the Splash Brothers by adding JJ Redick to their roster, and the floor spacing he brought to the table was massive for Steph, and it was showing in the playoffs with the Clippers crushing Portland in round 1. Next up was a matchup versus KD, and I was pretty confident the Clippers had enough to get it done versus the first-seeded Thunder. Steph was cooking Russ on one end, but by no surprise, Durant was dominating on the other side. And of course, I expected him to do his thing, but he was doing it to another level. There was no slowing this guy down, and he would just destroy Los Angeles. Well, that did not go any way that I expected it to. We got to move on to the next season. For Steph, making the playoffs finally was a huge improvement from the New Orleans days, but it wasn't satisfying his eagerness to win it all. In season 10, he was pushing his game even further than before, failed by the failures of the past 2 seasons. He wanted to make sure he was able to outscore whatever offensive juggernaut presented itself in the playoffs, and fans of the games were left with one of the most thrilling seasons we've ever seen. Not surprised at all, Steph Curry, another MVP, killer season, got the 2nd seed headed into the playoffs. This is his best team he's had yet. In the playoffs, Steph was making it past round 1 and 2 again by defeating his old team and the Spurs in order to earn a rematch versus the Thunder in the conference finals. Just 1 year ago, Durant was dominating this playoff series, but this time that domination would be by the hands of Steph, and this is exactly what he was working so hard for. He knew he'd likely have to run through the likes of Durant in the playoffs again and wanted to be prepared. He now had his opportunity that he wanted and was doing exactly what he set out to do with a huge closeout game. Steph has the ball here at the top. DeAndre screen coming in. Steph Curry rolling around that screen, kicks it down low to Jordan. This one's beyond over. They're up by what, like 40 points right now. Steph's making it to the NBA final. And those finals were versus a man that I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of. LeBron was quickly reminding Steph who the big dog in the league was after taking over in game 1 and kicking off the finals up 1-0. But Steph wasn't backing down versus the King. And in game 2, he would match Bron's game 1 performance to get this thing back tied up. The following 2 games would also be back and forth tug of war, with the 2 teams looking like they're in a stalemate until LeBron would get some separation with back-to-back wins to get his team out 3-2 and a win away from defeating Steph. But with elimination looming, Steph was reacting like any true megastar should, and he was carrying his team to the promised land. And with his hard play, everyone else was motivated to do their part en route to forcing a Game 7. Unfortunately for the Cavaliers, and honestly for all of us, this Game 7 wasn't exactly close. The Curry and Blake Griffin pick and roll was just way too versatile for the Cavs to slow down, and that would officially see Curry get his first ring of the career of CP3, who could not get it done. Steph's doing what CP3 couldn't, and funny enough, I'm pretty sure this is the same season Steph won in his own reality with the Warriors, and I think we could be seeing the start of the Curry era. And I was apparently right, because the next season the Clippers got even deeper by adding Paul Pierce, and Steph was still playing at an all-time level. Back in the playoffs, round 1 was against Chris Paul and the Warriors again. This Warriors roster was drastically improving, and CP3 became a full-fledged star by now, but it still seemed Curry was the biggest difference maker for these 2 teams. CP3 was putting up a good effort, and while he'll have more help next year, for now it was the Steph Curry show, and he was coming out of his series as a winner. The following round, he was defeating Kevin Durant for the 2nd straight year, which would cause a change the following season, and in the conference finals, he was matched up versus the San Antonio Spurs, and Curry was continuing his impressive postseason run for another trip to the finals. It'd be versus LeBron again, and to put things simply, it was a massacre of Cleveland as the Clippers were completing the repeat. But the next year, the NBA had a change that would ripple through the league with Durant joining Golden State, and of course, Steph would have run into this hurdle in the playoffs. Over the last few years, Steph had been eliminating CP3 and KD separately from the playoffs thanks to his high-level contributions, but this year was going to be different. Steph was still at an elite elite level and his team was as deep as ever. But the Warriors just had far too much firepower, and not only would the Warriors smoke the Clippers, but they'd force change to be on the horizon. Steph would be getting out of LA to seek more help in Houston. He was joining James Harden, who was also at an MVP level, and they created the best scoring duo in the NBA. By no surprise, Steph would have a slight hit to his numbers now that he's sharing the ball with Harden, but what was surprising was the team's performance. And to be honest, I don't know how the Rockets are the 6th seed. Maybe Harden and Steph just aren't working together. I don't know. Maybe the Rockets can figure it out in the playoffs. I was starting to believe that they were actually getting it all figured out, as in round 1, Steph would embarrass his former team, and in the second round he was facing the Spurs again, but this time with no Tim Duncan, it was an incredibly easy round before facing the Warriors super team yet again. Right away in this series, Steph was scorching hot, and he was clearly nothing but business in this series this year. He knew it was going to be a challenge, and he was playing like he had been preparing for this moment. Of course, Durant wasn't going to let this be a walk in the park and was having just as much of a scoring outburst until Harden also started to get hot. Once both Harden and Curry were clicking simultaneously, it was only a matter of time before the series was all but over, and after 6 games, the Rockets were dethroning one of the most stacked teams of all time. Again, LeBron was waiting in the finals, but this time there would be no Kyrie helping him, and the combination of Steph and Harden would do much like the combination of Steph and KD in real life, and this thing would be over in the blink of an eye in a close game 4. The Rockets are currently up 3-0 in this series in game 4 in the final moments with a chance to close this out and become champions yet again. They struggled in the regular season, but they're crushing here in the postseason. The screen for Tristan Thompson. Isaiah Thomas has the ball. They're going to throw it down low to LeBron. Who is this guy going to LeBron and double team LeBron? IT for 3. He gives him a lead in the final moments. 16 seconds left. IT gave him the lead. James Harden with it now, trying to take the lead back. James with Matthew Dellavedova on him. Curry has a shrimp on him. You got to give it to Curry right here. Clint send James the screen. James operating the pull-up 3 from deep. Oh my God. That one's gonna do it. Unless they get a full court heave here, Curry. Ow! Oh, does it count? Curry is the full court. Yo, it doesn't count. Oh my God. After Thomas saved game 4 for the Cavs, the Rockets would come out to game 5 and put a stop to any hopes that Cleveland had and was raising up the championship trophy in enemy territory. While this was great, that would be the high point for his Rockets tenure, because during the next season, they'd face Golden State yet again in the first round and be bounced right away, which would lead to Curry being shipped to OKC, where he would miss the playoffs completely and lead us into the final stretch, joining the Phoenix Suns. He was again joined by another great guard in Devin Booker, who could score at will, and also had DeAndre Ayton, who was his best big since running with Blake Griffin in Los Angeles, and Steph's new home was looking promising, but looks can be deceiving. How do they have the worst record in the yo? 2K always does the Suns so dirty, but this is just insane. So I went to check Steph's stats, and he's hurt, man. He only played 11 games all season. He tore his meniscus. That's why they didn't do good at all. In 2022, they'd be healthy finally and locked into a round 1 matchup with the Warriors. Golden State no longer had Durant, but they did have CP3 still, who was in the back end of his prime, playing his best basketball to date, and unfortunately, Curry was in his late 30s by now. Steph was taking more of a backseat on his current team, with Booker being the face of the franchise, and he was showing the fans why, as he would carry the Suns to wins in the first 2 games of the series. But the Warriors had all the playoff experience in the world compared to the Suns, who had no experience outside of Steph. This experience helped them in the remainder of the series, and one by one, the Warriors were winning games until they were upsetting Phoenix. Yet another disappointing season for Steph with the Phoenix Suns. I was expecting multiple championships here in this stretch. At least next season, which is his last, because we're not doing the Warriors one, has a lot of help coming. Kevin Durant was joining Phoenix, and now they had a real deal super team. They were having a great season, and by no surprise, were on their way to the playoffs. In round 1, they were facing the Pelicans, and this would be an easy series for the Suns. Insane offense, and Curry was finally getting past round 1 again. And then in the second round, they would have a very back and forth series with Morant and the Grizzlies, but in the end would win the series in 7, only to go on to the conference finals and sweep LeBron and the Lakers. And well, this was definitely the last team I expected to see here. This is looking like this is going to be a breeze of a playoff run. The Raptors would barely even be able to put up a fight, as Kevin Durant was leading the way and would go on to win the Finals MVP while embarrassing the entire Raptors team. While Steph was no longer the main guy on the team at the tail end of his career, he was still producing a respectable amount and would be taking home his 4th championship. And that's where this story ends, as Steph dominated with Chris Paul's career, even though he was taking a backseat to Durant here at the end. Which, by the way, what if KD was traded to the Rockets instead of Harden? Kobe is one of the best shooting guards ever, and his game completely defined an entire era of basketball. But I wonder, can another elite guard fill his shoes? We're gonna find out as Devin Booker is traded to the Lakers on draft night in 1996. Coming into the league, Booker would be getting comfortable with okay stats, but all eyes were really on the newly acquired Shaq. While D-Book would have other great teammates in the future, without a doubt, Shaq would be his greatest ally. With that said, it was critical that Book capitalizes on his time with Shaquille O'Neal, but it wouldn't be happening just yet this season as they would land the 9th seed. After a disappointing year 1, going into season 2, Booker's game picked up considerably to help his team. He'd go on to improve his scoring averages by 7 points per game this season, and additionally helped his team make the playoffs with the 5th seed. But his first ever playoff matchup would be far less than ideal. The glove was assigned the Booker matchup, and this series would act as a welcome to the NBA moment. Devin was playing his heart out, but was simply hurting his team more than he was helping. Gary Payton was smothering him physically and mentally while limiting his production, and in combination with the Suns' veteran team play led by an outstanding performance from Payton, the Lakers' up-and-coming duo would have to push off their goals for yet another year. During the next offseason, Devin obsessed over his poor performance. He'd reach out to the Lakers legend James Worthy to help develop his offensive game. They would train for days to exhaustion, all to perfect D-Book's post and mid-range game as we'd walk into the 1999 season, and boy would it pay off. By all accounts, his averages would be at his career peaks, which would be enough to earn his first All-Star selection. Booker was molding into one of the top scorers in the NBA as all his hard work was paying off. No longer was he just another member of the Lakers, but he was now truly a co-star, sharing the low with Shaq, and some even consider him to be more valuable to the team than the Diesel. Thanks in part to Booker, the Lakers were flying to the tip of the Western Conference en route to round 1 of the playoffs versus the Golden State Warriors. Now, this was really what Booker trained in the offseason for, to take over in the playoffs. This year would be a stark contrast from last year's debut series. Booker not only was scoring at a remarkable level, but he was actively hunting down Golden State's best defender to make a statement and completely deflate the opponent's morale. Nothing the Warriors threw at him was slowing him down, and with the way he was playing, they looked like legit contenders. He and Shaq would be sweeping this series, and D-Book proved that he belongs in this league. Moving into round 2, he'd face number 12 Stockton and number 13 Lover Malone. Booker and Shaq would do their parts to keep this country's adolescents safe by destroying Utah and sending Malone to the gym for the next 3 months, and now the Lakers' biggest challenge awaits. Shaq would have his hands completely full versus another elite center in David Robinson defensively, which then forced much smaller matchups to take on the tall task of guarding the talented young Tim Duncan. Timmy was basking in the fact that every possession was a mismatch, and he'd be a nightmare for the LA defense as they'd fall down 2-0 at home. But you shouldn't count him out just yet, because Book wasn't backing down in the face of adversity. He was rewriting the narrative of this series with a win and breathed new life into the hopes of Lakers fans. But that all seemed to be coming to a screeching halt in Game 4. Booker was struggling. He couldn't find a rhythm this match, but luckily basketball is a team sport. Shaq would pick up the slack this game, and even with Star Robinson guarding him, he would feast down low. And by the end of the night, Shaq did what he had to, and this series was all tied up. Game 5 was going right back to the Staples Center, and this was a huge match. Game 5s historically determined who wins the series, and it was clear the players knew what was on the line. Both sides were competing back and forth in an all-out war, but the Lakers began to get the edge late in the game, and Shaq wasn't letting his foot off the pedal. Shaq down low here in the post late in the 4th, trying to seal this one up. Another lay. They're going into Game 6 now, up 3-2 in this series. And believe it or not, the Lakers' rampage wasn't stopping there. Game 6 picked right back up where they left off in Game 5, and 48 minutes later, they had successfully won 4 straight to earn a trip to the NBA Finals. And truth be told, the Lakers completely annihilated the Knicks in the finals, and now it's worth checking how Booker stacks up with Kobe to this point, as he's officially won a championship faster than him. I don't know if I would say just yet that Booker's already doing better, but he does have a championship before Kobe got one. I think first, though, we have to see, can he three-peat like Kobe? And those three-peat odds were being put to the test right away. They rematch with the Spurs. With his repeat hopes at risk, Booker was scorching hot, but so was Tim Duncan, who was desperate to get into the finals for himself. Booker on one end would somehow razzle-dazzle and finish a crazy shot at the rim, just to be followed up by a Tim Duncan contested post shot over a double team on the other end. This would go on for a while, but ultimately Booker would fall short, and he was being bounced on his chances of a repeat. And that wouldn't be the last time they run into the Spurs, as over the course of the following 2 seasons, the Lakers would work their way through the playoffs and face the hurdle of overcoming their rivals yet again. Starting off in 2001, we would have Booker playing through an injury. Book would try his best to still be the go-to guy for his team, but with his slowed movement, he became more of a spot-up guy stretching the court for Shaq. O'Neal would have no choice but to try and take matters into his own hands and was getting busy down in the post versus the great Spurs front court. But the second year in a row, Tim Duncan was proven to be too much for Los Angeles, and he'd be ending their playoffs dreams. But going into the next year, Booker came back from his injury with an apparent vendetta against all of his opponents. His game was pushed to even greater heights, and he'd be earning his team the first seed for the playoffs, which we already know would culminate in the conference finals versus the Spurs. While their past matchups have all been back and forth slugfests, this time Booker was letting San Antonio have it and was strolling into the finals for a historical matchup. The Paul Pierce Celtics were Booker's opponents, and Pierce was a fierce matchup who was carrying Boston on his back as one of the best scorers in the league. And while I wish Pierce's play was enough to make it a climactic series, it just simply wasn't. Booker and Shaq were stomping through the competition just like they did in their last championship. Man, with as dominant of a playoff run as this was, this could be where Devin Booker and Shaq start to win multiple rings. And it would be an understatement to say I was right, as this Lakers group charged straight through the playoffs without any contention. They were humiliating their opponents and went the duration of the postseason undefeated in Los Angeles before going into the finals versus the Sixers and continuing that same astonishing playoff run. They'd be getting crowned their 3rd ring in 5 years, and it would be fairly obvious why. What? Booker already got an MVP? 38, 6, and 6. Yo, this dude is going parabolic. And by this point, Booker's accomplishments were potentially better than Kobe's in the same time frame. Moving on to 2004, Booker had a chance to match Kobe's three-peat. LA would even have a boost to their team, adding the glove who years ago sparked the growth in Booker's play. Oh, and they added this predator too. Booker continued to play at an MVP caliber level this year, and even though he wasn't honored with the reward again this season, it became apparent that his once-in-a-generation year was no fluke, and he would be leading his team to the playoffs again. Round 1 was against a rookie Carmelo, and while in the future Melo may give Booker some thrilling competition, it wouldn't be now as LA coasted into the second round. Moving into that second round, they faced these Spurs again, but at this point they had this matchup figured out and they would win it easily before going on to the conference finals versus the Kings, who were led by Chris Webber. It'd be the hardest of the 3 series by a long shot, but in the end, Booker and Shaq were able to get it taken care of in Game 7. And the finals this year was going to be up against the flashy PG Jason Kidd leading New Jersey. Their big weakness seemed to be a lack of paint defense, however, as Shaq dominated. But it wasn't that easy, as Jason Kidd and Richard Jefferson's offense was compensating for the inability to stop Shaq. Their chemistry was elite, and after 4 matches, they would have the series completely knotted up. With it now being a best-of-3 series, both teams still seemed to be equally matched, as the following 2 matches were split, and in a Game 7 they were nearly deadlocked coming to the concluding moments. In this Game 7, currently the New Jersey Nets are down by 3. 40 seconds left. Jason Kidd with it. He's driving in here. They get down a little Alonzo Mourning. That tough pull-up jumper, of course, is no good. The Lakers have the ball now. 30 seconds remaining. If they score here, this one's pretty much over. They can give the dagger. Shaq in the paint on the backdoor cut with the dunk. 5-point lead. And the Lakers do it. They complete the 3-peat. Devin Booker now officially has 4 championships. Let's go. And while this was a moment to celebrate, it was also a devastating one. Shaq would be disgruntled, sharing the spotlight, and demanded a trade. The following season, he would be getting moved to Miami, and while in the future, Booker would have other great big men to work with, for now, he'd be stuck with, this guy. Who the fuck is this? And while Booker would continue to be one of the most impressive stars in basketball, by no surprise, his team was atrocious. The next 2 seasons weren't getting any better either, and this would be a rough patch in Booker's career. Until finally in 2008, a new hope would come for Devin Booker. The Lakers had acquired Pau Gasol in a trade, and this elite big man was hopefully going to be the difference maker to get back on top. Very quickly, the pick and roll between him and Booker had developed, and D-Book trusted him with looks down low in the post. Additionally, Lamar Odom had developed into an impressive player since joining from the Shaq trade. And with that said, after a long, grueling few years for D-Book, he would finally be back in the playoffs. But the luck of the draw wasn't on his side, as he ran into the defending champs in just round 2. Tim Duncan was playing at a peak level, and the rest of the Spurs had developed significantly since the last playoff meeting. It was going to take a lot from Devin Booker to get the job done, but he was up for the challenge with Gasol. They were fighting back and forth throughout this series that would go down in the books as one of the most exciting matchups between these 2 teams. The headlines were completely focused around Gasol and Duncan Duncan clashing head-to-head in the paint. But the main player to keep this series close would be Booker, as everything was dead even after 6 games in, and they were locked into an intense Game 7. Fans everywhere were excited for the climactic finish, but it ended up being a massacre. Booker took complete control of this match from start to finish, and Duncan just couldn't keep up, and now Devin was moving on with his championship hopes still alive until Melo entered the story. When Book matched up with him as a rookie, it was a walk in the park, but now things were different, and Carmelo was not only dominating, but he was even joined by Allen Iverson. While it was an impressive season for Booker, he just wasn't getting it done in 08. So here in Game 6, looking like the Lakers are about to lose 4-2. Booker could not get it done in 08. He couldn't get to the finals like Kobe. Can he maybe still get that repeat though in 2009, 2010? I guess we're gonna have to find out. Following a disappointing playoff run, Booker would continue to push his game in year 13. He was still a bona fide star and would be in the MVP race, but was slightly outdone by LeBron James. By the postseason, the Lakers have built a ton of team chemistry, and in round 1 would defeat Gasol's old Memphis team, and in round 2 he would have another easy matchup versus a young Thunder team that wasn't ready to compete yet, and finally they'd face the same challenges they had a year before. Booker's worst fear seemed to be becoming a reality as Carmelo was again threatening hopes for that 5th championship. Melo was controlling the West in this reality without the presence of Kobe, and it didn't look like anything could stop him. Quickly in this series, he was already up 3-0, and Booker risked being swept, but in enemy territory, he was fighting back. After putting up one of his most impressive performances ever, he got his team a win, but it only delayed the inevitable, as back in Los Angeles, Carmelo was taking right back over and would be finishing the job. And now at this point, our Kobe and Booker comparison is looking very similar, and unless Booker could find a way to overcome Carmelo, Kobe would be passing him next year. And the Lakers would find that way by acquiring Ron Artest, who they were hopeful would be the Carmelo stopper. This was huge for Booker's legacy, as he was regressing much faster than Kobe in his reality and was starting to see a significant decline in his career at 34 years old. Back in the playoffs, the first 2 rounds would be easy as they had been, but this time Melo wasn't winning the conference finals. For what feels like the millionth time, the Lakers and Spurs would be battling it out for supremacy in the West. There's no need to drag on how this series goes, because as you can imagine, they're very equally matched after how many matches they've had. But going into Game 6, San Antonio had the edge of 3-2, and they were up late. The Lakers are down 3-2 in this series, in this huge Game 6 at the Staples Center. They're down by 3 with just shy of a minute to go. This is a massive possession for Devin Booker's entire legacy. He's getting old. He doesn't have a lot left in the tank. Ron Artest with it. Devin Booker, who looks like he's playing hurt. Pau Gasol down low in the post. Tim Duncan on him. Booker has it. They're swinging around. 4 seconds left. They have to do something quick. Pau Gasol, the pull up in front of Timmy. Oh my gosh, no good. Bottom 3, bro. It gets it in. It's a 1-point game. It's looking like they're playing a full court press here. Danny Green has. They throw it over to Tony Parker. 30 seconds left. Oh no, you have to stop him. No, Tony Parker gets it in. I think given the circumstances, you can go for a quick 2 here. That's acceptable. You don't necessarily need a 3, but a 3 ties this thing up. A 2 makes it a 1-possession game. Derek Fisher with the ball here. Devin Booker trying to get open on that right side of the court. Here comes Ron Artest swinging around. They get it to Artest. Artest driving in on Richard Jefferson. He loses it. He loses scramble for the ball. Jefferson has it. Oh no, they take a timeout. Unreal. There's 2 yellow jerseys and no one is hustling for the ball. Tony Parker splits the free throws. It's a 4-point game now. Devin Booker coming up the court. You have to go quick. Pau Gasol, Odom. What are they doing? Find them. They're just passing it. Someone shoot. Pau Gasol. Bang! Bang! But unfortunately, there's not enough time left. The Lakers are going to be getting bounced. And following that, by being bounced in round 1 in 2011 and round 2 in 2012, the Lakers will make one final attempt for a run with Booker. Their final hurrah would be adding all-star Dwight Howard to the mix and providing Booker with an elite playmaker in Steve Nash, who reduced pressure on D-Book. And with Devin announcing he'd retire after the season, it was win right now or a complete bust. It took a while for all the new pieces to mesh together, but eventually their chemistry would become polished and the Lakers were posting a very solid record. The real test though would come in the playoffs, where they would face a young Warriors team in round 1. They haven't yet developed into the dynasty we know them as, so this would be a fantastic warm-up for the Lakers in their first postseason run together, and they would find themselves advancing to round 2 after 6 games. In that second round, they had a chance for revenge versus a team who knocked them for the playoffs the year prior. The battle for Los Angeles was heavily favored for the Clippers to come out on top, but the Lakers were playing with a lot of intensity on the defensive end. They did a great job at forcing turnovers, and Dwight Howard had the paint shut down and was feasting on the glass, leading all players. With the defensive adjustment of Artest on CP3, it was greatly limiting their options offensively, and the Lakers are able to come into the series after a sweep and shocking the world. until their final hurdle was the stacked Oklahoma City Thunder. Booker would struggle in the series with the longer and younger Kevin Durant smothering him defensively. And on the other end, that same Durant was scoring at will, even over Artest, who was brought in specifically for these kinds of matchups. Things were looking bleak for Booker, but luckily enough for him, the Thunder couldn't match up great versus the Lakers big. Ibaka was able to limit one of them, but then an aged Kendrick Perkins had to guard the other, and this was an advantage for LA the entire series. It wouldn't be pretty, but after 7 long games, Booker was able to advance to the finals versus Wade, Bosh, and LeBron. Wade was slowing down at this point, but was still one of the most talented players in the NBA, and LeBron needs no intro to how skilled he is. But with Miami's small ball lineups, they would face a similar issue as the Thunder. Gasol and Dwight were absolutely killing the Heat. They lacked the front court depth to make any notable adjustments, and with the Lakers up 3-1 in the series, Booker and Co had an opportunity to close it out. After a decade of not making it to the finals, Booker's finally back, up by 2 with a chance if he wins here to win his 5th ring and match Kobe Bryant in his own career. Artest wide open off the screen, bang! He gives them a 5-point lead. Miami now with only 50 seconds left. The pressure is on here in Miami for them. They've had miracles happen down before in the finals. We all know what they're capable of with Ray Allen. Dwayne Wade in the low post. His hook is good. It's a 3-point game again. Steve Nash with a double-double, 10 and 11 for the night. He's slowly bringing up the quad. I would love to see Devin Booker get involved in this action, but to be honest, Gasol and Dwight have been carrying him. Steve Nash driving in. He kicks out Artest again. Another 3. Oh, that one's off. Miami now with a chance to tie this thing up. You can see those Lakers rebounds. They're absolutely killing it here. Dwayne Wade with the ball now. He's got Devin Booker and him. 10 seconds remaining on the shot clock. He gets the screen for Chris Bosh. They're going for the 3 to 2. Dwayne, he's driving all the way for the 2. His leg is good. 1-point game. They're going to have to foul. Unfortunately for Miami, they fouled Steve Nash, one of the best free throw shooters ever. LeBron up there about to fade away. Oh my God, I thought he was going to hit that one. That would have been a signature LeBron moment. Nash's second free throw, an opportunity to put him up by 5. He nails it. No timeouts for Miami. I don't think they have time to win this. LeBron James at the half court. He's going to have to hoist the 3. It's good! It's good! Oh my God, it's too little too late. The Lakers are NBA champions yet again. And Booker at the final moment would match Kobe's 5 championships. They had very similar careers, but Booker fell short of Kobe's finals MVP count. Speaking of MVPs, what if the youngest MVP ever had his dream career? Steph Curry has built an elite dynasty for the Golden State Warriors. But what if Trae Young had his career instead? Young gets comparisons to Curry all the time, so today we're putting him in his shoes. He'd be drafted to the Warriors in 2009 and joined forces with notable teammates Ellis and Lee. The 3 created a solid young core of talent that Golden State hoped to build upon for the future. There were certainly questions on how well Ellis and Trae could coexist, but for the time being, Trae Young was putting the NBA on notice by having an excellent introduction to professional basketball and already was cementing himself as one of the best players in Golden State, but he and his team still had a lot of building to do. Heading into year 2, Young would make some massive improvements to his game that had everyone thinking he was the steal of the 2009 draft. Offense was his forte and is definitely where he shined, but on the defensive end, his weaknesses were glaring, especially with his lack of size, but it didn't stop him from being selected for his first All-Star game, which was the highlight of the season because he would yet again miss the playoffs. Technically, Young's doing better than Curry because he's got an All-Star, he's already got an All-NBA, but they still cannot make the playoffs. In the offseason, the Warriors would add a major addition with Klay Thompson, but the struggles were continuing for Golden State, and there were rumors brewing of a possible trade. Chemistry between the two was plummeting as Ellis refused to pass the ball to Trae, and by the trade deadline, Monte was on his way to Milwaukee in return for Bogut. Adding Bogut to the team was a huge boost to Trae's game. He was getting rock-hard screens, paws, and that from the big fella, and it evolved his game. After an awful start to the season, post-trade deadline, they had one of the best records in the league, but they were still barely missing the playoffs. All right, it's got to be time for Trae Young to make the playoffs this next season, or else he's just fucking around. With a more well-built team finally around him, Young was flourishing. His team would kick off the season with a strong start, and by the All-Star break, they were sitting at the 3rd seed, and the second half of the season was even better as Young was going to be playing this summer instead of sun tanning. Thank God, I thought I was going to be simulating the regular season this entire video. Young was heading into his first series completely locked in, and straight out of the gates, he was on the attack, all while still getting his teammates involved on offense and rode to a 17-point halftime lead. Their lack of playoff experience may be hurting them though, as Gordon Hayward Hayward in the second half was slowly chipping away at the lead. After 24 minutes elapsed in the conclusion of a Hayward elite performance, the Utah Jazz upset Golden State for game 1. And then they'd follow that second half performance in game 2 with Jefferson picking up his game. In the blink of an eye, the Warriors went from celebrating to a complete 180 and down 2-0 in this series. Trae's back was against the wall in enemy territory for game 3 of the series, and with the lights the brightest, Trae was ready to step up. He was picking through Utah's defense to find opportunities every trip down, and he was smoking hot, drilling jumpers from everywhere. It was apparent that he was being fueled by the opposing crowd and would look to quiet them down and tie the series up. They would do just that and started celebrating confidently, but their cockiness was their downfall. Utah regained control of the series quickly in the following 2 games. Their calm and collected team play was enough to outlast Golden State in round 1. How do you lose as the 2nd seed to the 7th seed of Utah Jazz, man? The spirits were still high from the team though, even after my doubts. Iguodala also joined the roster this year, and he'd bring with him a change in culture. He was gritty and defensive minded, and it was rubbing off on his teammates. After a long regular season, the Warriors will find themselves in the playoffs again versus the Wolves. Minnesota featured star Kevin Love, who was elite down low. David Lee had his hands full dealing with K Love, and there was no signs of stopping him. If they were going to win this series, it would be on the offensive end. As we know, offense was Trae's happy place, and he would lift his team onto his back and take over the entire series. He was taking things game by game this time around and not becoming cocky. He would go on to average some crazy numbers in round 1 and was capping off a massive game 6. In this game 6, Trae has 45. It looks like he's still attacking. Trae to step back J. Oh, it's just a Boken with the slam and the exclamation mark, though. Trae and the Warriors are officially advancing past round 1. Round 2 featured another good big, but this one was much more athletic. But the upper hand seemed to be with Golden State, as Trae was scoring 3s compared to Griffin's 2s. Beyond that, Young was humiliating CP3 on the court anytime he was trying to defend him. Paul would try to make it a respectable guard battle, but Trae was just clearly better. This series would end up pushing to a game 7, but the Warriors have full control of it and were passing the Clippers in this reality. Trae's averages for that series was crazy. He had a personal vendetta versus CP3 apparently, but unfortunately along the way, Young sustained an injury in that series that would leave him limited the rest of the postseason. For the 3rd straight series, they were up against an elite power forward. Timmy was getting old, but he was still a threat to any team. With Trae Young visibly limping, the Spurs would be favorites in this series. Compounding the injury with the veteran pick and roll of the Spurs was tough, and the Warriors were missing their star. However, by an act of God, a new up-and-coming piece of the Warriors would have a breakout series. Draymond Green was defensively bothering Duncan and kept his team within arm's reach. Pairing that with Klay Thompson's record-breaking 3-point efficiency, it was looking like a legit series come a pivotal Game 5 ending. Game 5 is down to the wire here at the end. The Warriors are up by 3 right now. Manu Ginobili has the ball versus Klay Thompson. Manu Ginobili, the tough little lay. What was that? Tim Duncan, the putback. His putback is good. Why did Ginobili go up like that? Only a 1-point game now the Warriors have it. Trae Young is visibly injured. His leg is all type of fucked up. I don't even know what happened. I think Chris Paul sabotaged him. Trae Young with it. Andrew Bogut sent that screen. Trae still up pretty even with the injury. Step back. Why didn't he take it? Oh my God, why did he not take it? You can't let them get the ball to Tim Duncan with David Lee. Horrible defender. This is bad. It looks like Tim Duncan's hurt as well. Timmy travels. What a choke by an all-time great. 36 seconds left to go now. The Warriors are up by 1. Trae Young with it here at the top. I didn't know who this man guarding him is. You gotta beat him off the dribble even if you are hurt. Bogut with the screen. 1 man to be on the left side. Splitter. Pull up Jay. Oh my God, man. This injured Trae Young is shooting the Warriors out of this game. He's choking here. Ginobili got wide open off that screen. Didn't use it. Timmy in the post again. David Lee on him. This is dangerous. Oh, drop step. Tough look for Timmy here. Nowhere to go. The hook. It's off. Lee with the board. Iggy's going to the line. Aliens point a laser at Earth. Fade to the Earth in the hands of 1 man. I want Iguodala, man, at the free throw line to go up by 3. Andre. It's good. Spurs, no timeout left. 7 seconds left. What do they have? Down by 3. What are they going to do? Ginobili. Splitter. This is not the one you want to take it. No way. It's off. The Warriors win. They may have barely squeezed by Game 5, but with being 1 win away from the finals, the team was amped to close this out. In Game 6, everyone came prepared, and they take care of business in 6 as the Spurs would give away the series, which would feature, by no surprise, the Big 3 Miami Heat, who had the high-flying duo of LeBron and Wade. If Trae was healthy, I'm sure this series could have gone very differently, but with him being hurt, LeBron and Wade provided way too much scoring to keep up with. Trae lost in a clean sweep, but it wasn't for nothing as he gained some very valuable playoff experience. The entire team benefited from this playoff experience and elevated their play drastically the next year. Most notable was Draymond Green, who was developing into one of the best defensive forces in the league, which complemented the league's top offensive force in Trae. Young's offense had transcended into a new atmosphere, and his hard work was not going unnoticed. An MVP for Trae Young. I didn't think he was going to get one. I didn't think he was going to be good enough to do one in this sim, but he's proven proving me wrong. Let's see if he can prove me wrong in the playoffs as well. Livingston would start over the MVP in the first round, though, as he was out with a swollen knee. Defense would be Golden State's identity without their star, and with Dallas being limited to 62-year-old Dirk Nowitzki, they wouldn't have enough offense. In Trae's absence, Clay and company will end up crushing Dallas. Yo, they completely blew them out here in this series. 4-0 sweep. Game 4, they won. What is that? Like 50 points that they just won by? Clay dominated this. 57 points for Clay Thompson to close out this series with 11 threes is ridiculous. Young was returning in the second round for another matchup with Lob City. He was motivated to crush LA after sustaining his injury from a hard foul the year prior and would do just that. The media advertised this series as a match between CP3 and Young, but it would be the same as a year prior, where Trae would be clearly better and was taking this series in 4 games. Finally, though, a real challenge would start in the conference finals. It was a matchup between the 2 leading scorers in the entire league. Trae and KD were by a long shot the top 2 scorers and were sitting at 1 and 2 for points per game in the regular season. They seemed to be evenly matched early on, but Trae would create separation in the series and earn another trip to the finals. Those finals featured LeBron again, but on a new team. He now was teamed up with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love in Cleveland, which was a lot of talent alongside LeBron James, who led the way in the first game to go up 1-0 in the series. Trae Young was retaliating in the second game taking place in Cleveland. Kyrie was a weak defender and couldn't really check Trae, which allowed him to explode for over 40 to lock this series back up. But once this series went to Oakland, it would change very quickly. LeBron was in a league all of his own with some of the most remarkable performances in the history of the National Basketball Association. Games 3 and 4 had James' name written all over them, and he went up 3-1 in the series. While Trae would fight back in Game 5 with his season on the line, he'd get it to Game 6, only to end up falling short to LeBron again. However, he would quickly have a chance for a rematch the very next season after they rampaged through the first 3 rounds again before facing LeBron for his 3rd straight finals. After falling to LeBron in the last 2 playoffs, Trae was finally prepared to flip the script and was doing just that. He averaged a remarkable 45.1 points per game through the finals, and Cleveland was falling behind quickly. After 5 games, the series was a complete mirror of the year prior, and Trae had a chance for his first ring. Game 6 of the series is all knotted up here with a minute remaining. Trae Young has the opportunity to win on first ring. He's driving to the paint. Tristan Thompson, he tried to bully but misses that lay. Trae really blew by him but couldn't beat Tristan Thompson at the rim. Richard Jefferson, no way you lose to Richard Jefferson. I don't even see LeBron in the court. It's Kyrie trying to save LeBron's legacy. Some things never change. Kyrie driving in. Want me to beat the little fadeaway? Oh, bang, it's in. Warriors timeout. Warriors ball now, still no LeBron even at their timeout, so I'm guessing he might be fouled out. This is Trae's biggest opportunity to win a ring. Kyrie Irving on him. Terrible defender. You have to beat him on the dribble. Trae blows by him. Trae wide open right side of the court. He was open. He didn't take a spin move. What is he doing? He's getting double. Trae kicks it to Andre Iguodala. 12 seconds left on the shot clock. Draymond with the screen. It's gonna be Iggy. Trae's not shooting here. Draymond's wide. His leg good. Kyrie Irving, 5 seconds left. Trae on him. He's getting the screen for Tristan Thompson. Bogey, you have to pick up. Bogey, help him. Kyrie. Oh, we're going to overtime. With the Warriors being up by 2, this one could be over. Kyrie, LeBron, and J.R. Smith are all fouled out. I just checked the score sheets. Deladova has it here at the top. What are they going to do without Kyrie, without LeBron? Is it going to go to Kevin Love? It does. Kevin Love has it versus Draymond. Love driving. Oh, that's a flagrant 6. What the fuck? This is probably Trae Young's biggest opportunity. He may never get a chance like this. You have to win this game here, Trae. 36 seconds left. 20 seconds remaining on the shot clock. Tied ball game, overtime in the NBA Finals. This is something all kids dream of, is this very moment. Trae, 1 man to beat. Trae, step back, pull up. Bang! He's ice cold. He's got ice in his veins. The Cavaliers now with it. Matthew Deladova. Down by 2. You have to score here. I imagine it's going to go to Kevin Love. There's no way Deli shoots it. K-Love in the paint. Draymond to him. That's a tough fade. It's no good. Ball get the rebound. They get it to Clay. And that's pretty much going to do it. Trae's officially winning his first ever championship, and the excitement wasn't going to end there. And that's because Durant was joining Golden State the next year. Now with the Warriors having the NBA's 2 best scorers and high team chemistry, there was very little chance of any team stepping between them and more rings. And by no surprise, at the end of the first season, they would find themselves atop NBA hierarchy with the best record. As you'd imagine, their success continued in the playoffs. In round 1 versus Portland, they would defeat KD's old team in round 2, and in the conference finals, they'd remain undefeated versus the Spurs throughout this simulation, and surprise, surprise, they ran into Braun again. Durant being a part of the team this year would create a massive gap between the 2 teams this time around. KD was questionably the best player on the entire court, and pairing that with the well-rounded Warriors team would lead to taking out LeBron after only 5 games. And I'm at a loss for words for this following season. Trae Young got another MVP, but that's not even the crazy part. The crazy part is this record that the Warriors put up 76 and 6. That is just ridiculous. They'd go on to run straight through the postseason, not only in season 9, but also in season 10 the following year to lock in 4 total rings for Trae. But following their three-peat, the dynasty could be ending as KD left for Brooklyn. Trae was once again the main guy in his team and would continue his high level of play that he had become known for over the last several years, but Klay Thompson was hurt and Green was regressing, and for the first time in a while, he would be missing the playoffs. Come 2021, Klay was still injured, but a new co-star for Trae was emerging. Jordan Poole was beginning to develop his game to pair along Young. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough baddies on the sideline, and the Warriors would end up missing the playoffs yet again. Eventually, 2022 would come around, and Klay was finally back in the lineup doing what he does, and Poole had elevated into a high-level scorer and a borderline all-star. There was also some bad news, though, that Green was a shell of his former self, and his defense wasn't as dominant, which meant they barely made the playoffs. Young was finally playing in the postseason again after being on top of the world and plummeting down to the bottom. Now he was on a quest to get back to the top, and the first hurdle was Utah, who were led by the athletic young Donovan Mitchell. While a great regular season team, they struggled in the playoffs, and the Warriors' veteran leadership helped them coast in round 2 versus someone else with just as much playoff experience. For the millionth time, LeBron was up against Trae, and this was poised to be just as exciting as all their past matchups. This time, LeBron was joined with elite big man Anthony Davis, who was giving the small ball Warriors some serious issues. Trae would suppress the size problems, though, by outpacing the Lakers outside the arc. The teams were dead even and playing in a close final game of the series. Trae's currently in what I believe is his first game 7, if I'm not mistaken, or the first I remember for a very long time. LeBron would be on the left side, Jordan Poole guarding him. That's a size mismatch. LeBron gets right by him, kicks out to Anthony Davis. Of course, LeBron is looking for someone to save his legacy. I forgot Russ was on this team, but he drives in. He's making me pay for forgetting. No, he's not. He's missing. Thompson has it. Trae Young on the break. He had a wide open jumper. Turn it down. He's got King James on him at the top. LeBron guarding Trae Young. Trae on the right side. A one-on-one matchup. A minute left. Down by 1 is Trae clutch. The pull-up jumper. Oh my God, that's a tough shot. Westbrook with it now. 54 seconds left in this game. You gotta let Russ shoot. I think you let Russ shoot in a situation like this. Let him clank it off the rim, get another offensive possession. Move it, screen, something. It's right even on this team. LeBron, deep hook. No good there. Jordan Poole has the ball. The baddies baseline. Do we have any baddies at the game? Jordan Poole. Oh my God, the tough flag. There's baddies at the game. LA with it now, down by 1, just shy of 30 seconds remaining in this game. You got to get inbound. They get it to Russ, swing over to LeBron. Wiggins on him now. This is a good defensive matchup for the Warriors. Wiggins on LeBron, left side of the court all by himself. LeBron in the post. The double team's coming. Klay Thompson, the trap there. LeBron out of bounds. What a choke from LeBron. Jordan Poole hit 2 free throws, get him up by 3. The Lakers have enough time though. No timeouts left. Russell Westbrook with it. Is Russ gonna hoist a 3? I feel like Russ would have took that in real life. You know Russ thinks he's clutch. Dwight Howard in the corner. Kendrick Nunn for 3. It's no good. I think the Warriors are gonna be advanced into the conference finals. The conference finals would stay in Los Angeles as they played the Clippers in another thrilling season. This one pushed to a pinnacle game 7 as well, but it wasn't nearly as close. Trae with the ball here. Draymond Green setting the screen. Trae blowing by everyone. His lay is good. They're up by like more than I can count. Trae's going to be winning another game 7 versus the LA team. He's headed to the finals once again for a matchup versus an old teammate, Kevin Durant. KD was flourishing in Brooklyn since leaving Trae, and he was joined by an old rival of the Warriors. There was no favorites to win this series, and it would be a war for a team trying to come out on top. Trae was starting to get older, but he was still putting up respectable numbers, but the only problem was that Kevin was putting up better numbers. The series wouldn't be as close as I hoped, and Trae would not be getting ring number 5. The next few seasons, Trae would make a couple more playoffs, but not have much more major success before entering retirement. His career was fairly close to Curry's, but what about if I gave LeBron's career to Giannis? Find out by clicking this video. We're taking LeBron's career and giving it to Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're kicking things off in 2003, where Giannis was drafted by Cleveland. As a rookie, he was underdeveloped and not as dominant as LeBron was. Offensively, he struggled to score, and his slim frame made things difficult defensively. It would be a failed first season for Giannis, but along the way, there was glimpses of the dominance that would come. In year 2, Giannis was seeing improvements to all of his averages with a more established skill set, although he'd still have a long way to go before he was at a star level. His athleticism was apparent though, and that carried his game, but not the Cavs, as they would miss the playoffs again. And Giannis and the Cavs just barely missed the playoffs. There was a 4-way tie for the 7th seed. Giannis was finally ready to flip the script in 2006. He elevated his game and was becoming the face of the franchise that they were hoping for. He earned his first All-Star appearance and cracked 20 points per night for the first time. His strong play was enough to land Cleveland the 3rd seed and a trip to the NBA playoffs. And thank God he finally got to the playoffs, because now he can start the actual challenge challenge of this video, which is going to be winning more rings in LeBron's career than LeBron was able to do himself. He'd be facing an aging Detroit Pistons lineup here in round 1. Unfortunately for Giannis, his best teammate Hughes was injured. The Pistons were finding cracks in the Cavaliers defense. Rip Hamilton was abusing screens and scorching the Cavs, and an all-star Chauncey Billups looked like he was in a shoot-around all by himself. And in the blink of an eye, Cleveland had lost home court advantage. All their problems would amplify on the road as Detroit found comfort in their home crowd, and they go on to sweep the Cavs. By this point, Giannis had a full breakout season. While he wouldn't earn the reward, he was playing at an MVP caliber level. He would become the most feared offensive player in the NBA in what seemed to happen overnight. His size and speed with the ball was something never seen before, and he'd be right back in the playoffs for a Pistons rematch. The series versus Detroit would be very different this year. Giannis was a transformed player from what the Pistons faced a year ago. He was not bothered by the interior defense of Detroit and was pounding the paint like a young boy with his date on prom night. Backed by their star, the Cavs would find themselves headed into round 2. The 7th seed Heat had just upset the Magic to face Giannis in round 2, and while D-Wade had 2 MVPs under his belt at this point, Giannis would take the assignment to guard him and completely shut him down. The Heat would face the same nightmare the Pistons did of attempting to get stops in Giannis attacking the paint. Without much luck limiting his drives to the rim, the Heat would end up dropping in 5. And this is Giannis's last hurdle to the NBA Finals. I think he has a legitimate chance. Both teams had a solid supporting cast, but Giannis versus Pierce was the main show. Giannis's game plan was clear as he was in the post trying to bully Paul Pierce. He had the height and size advantage over him, and he exploited it each trip down the court. On the other hand, Pierce used his deep skill set of crafty moves to get the edge over Giannis on the offensive side of the ball. Neither of the two were letting up. One after another, they were scoring and challenging their opponent to match it. This may have been the most equally matched duel we had seen up to 2007. Most of these games finished in the final moments, and Game 7 was no exception. And with the game all knotted up late, Paul Pierce found a mismatch in the corner. He would attack this defender off the dribble and sink in a 3 to get Boston the lead. From there, Cleveland would take a timeout to draw up a play, and it was designed for Giannis Antetokounmpo to get an easy look at the paint with a lob, and it worked. After the Giannis lob play, the Celtics are only up by 1 now, and the Cavaliers have a chance to get a stop, and they go on the attack. Paul Pierce has it. Giannis is on him this time. No mismatch this time around. Can Giannis shut Paul Pierce down? They get out of the Gary Payton. This is a very old Payton. I'm pretty sure he needs to be in a community assisted living home by this point. Payton, the lay. It's off the board. The Cavaliers have it. Off to the races. Jones is going to go all the way. Oh, please don't shoot this. No, please slow it down. Jones, no. Pierce again had an opportunity with a mismatch on him and would attack in the post, but this time found no success, and Cleveland had a chance to take the lead. The Cavaliers have another chance here, only down by 1. 20 seconds remaining in this game. Giannis down low in the post. Tony out on him. Oh, don't shoot that, Giannis. Repost him. Oh, my God, no. Giannis the board, though. He gets the board. The putback. It's in. Giannis takes the lead. With the fate of their season on the line, Walker has it with 7 seconds. No way Paul Pierce isn't taking a shot. They're driving in. They must be trying to avoid Giannis on defense. The tough lay. It's off. The Cavaliers win. They're headed to the NBA Finals. And in those finals would be the Utah Jazz. They had an old teammate of Giannis with Carlos Boozer. During his stint with Utah, though, he had become an all-star unlike his time in Cleveland. His post play developed tremendously, and it was highly efficient. Alongside his ISO work, he also excelled in the pick and roll with co-star Darren Williams, who he had built massive chemistry with. Williams himself was a very dangerous opponent. Consensus at the time from the fans would have you thinking he wasn't good, but in all honesty, he was highly underrated. His offensive game was impressive, and he was one of the better point guards in the NBA at this point. His game was patient and methodical, but it worked. This wasn't going to be a walk in the park for Giannis by any means. Heading into a game 3, he was facing a 2-0 deficit. With his back pinned against the wall, this was when he would deliver the most. He was locked in every possession, eagerly trying to claw his way back into this series until little by little, he got himself back up 3-2 with a chance to win in front of his home crowd. And here late in game 6 of the finals, the Cavaliers are up by 16. That's pretty much going to do it. Giannis is winning his first ring faster than LeBron did and is now one step closer to his goal of surpassing James. The next season, Giannis was back in the playoffs and would ease through the Atlanta Hawks in round 1. In round 2, he was going head-to-head with Chris Bosh, but it would be another one-sided series until there was a rematch with Pierce and the Celtics. This time, though, Pierce had backup from KG and Ray Allen. KG was anchoring the paint for Boston on one end, and on the other, Rondo was setting up his star teammates for open looks. And while Giannis would produce one of the coldest posters ever, he would ultimately be stunned in just 4 games. Giannis was sidelined for 30 games the next season due to injury, which resulted in walking into the Celtics again in round 1 as the 8th seed. He'd fight hard in this series and was hopeful after stealing game 1 in Boston, but inevitably they would fall to Boston again. would be the start of Giannis's revenge arc. He took the league by storm in 2010. He looked good before, but now he looked unstoppable. Teams were sending every defensive coverage possible at him, only to be left disappointed as he would counter them with even more unstoppable moves. He showed the league he was the real deal, and he was rewarded for it. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that this man got an MVP. 30, 12, and 7 is just insane. Come playoff time, he was desperate to challenge Boston again, and he would beat the Bulls and the Wizards to get there. In this series, the MVP had hands everywhere, both offensively and defensively. He was ready to end this rivalry once and for all, and did just that without Boston putting up much fight. But now he would have to get past one of the all-time greats. Kobe was a matchup nightmare and was taking over this series. Anytime Giannis would get the Cavs a decent run, Kobe would come back with an even more impressive run of his own. The Cavs are trying everything, including sending double teams, but it just was not working. And his Mamba mentality was apparent, with his foot still in the pedal even when it was already over. The Lakers are literally up by 38 right now. Is Kobe still attacking? He's still oh my God! Yo, what was the point? The game is over. Kobe and the Lakers would end up completing the sweep, which led to Giannis wanting out of Cleveland. From there, he decided to join Miami to create a super team. Playing with the likes of Wade and Bosh was by far the most talent he ever had with him. The chemistry with Wade was there right out of the gates and created an electrifying athletic duo. Chris Bosh commanded respect down low with his extensive post game, and he was also a solid playmaker out of the painted area to a cutting Giannis. Giannis was loving life here in Miami and would continue his dominance from Cleveland, but there was just one problem. Their bench was awful, which in the postseason would come to haunt him. They would end up being faced off with a deep Mavs team led by Dirk. The production they got from their role players versus Miami's was just too much, and they would win this series in 6 games. Really sucks to see this season go to waste because of the bench. Not only did he win most valuable player, but the guy also got defensive player of the year. He had an incredible season. He just couldn't get it done. The following year, they would address their bench weakness in the offseason by adding depth with Shane Battier, and they'd earn the NBA best record behind Giannis's 3rd MVP. And Miami just took a huge hit. Dwayne Wade is out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL. Even with Wade out, Giannis and the Heat got plenty to overcome a weak Philly team in round 1. Luck wasn't on their side for round 2 though. Derrick Rose was healthy in this reality, and he was paired with the NBA's top-ranked defense. Giannis had no hope from the jump. Wade was back in full force the following year and got right back to an all-star level. Miami even added some extra help with Ray Allen, and it's becoming like clockwork now. Giannis has another MVP. The challenge of it was for Giannis to get more championships to LeBron, but he's one away from more MVPs as well. The playoffs in the East this year were barely even worth mentioning now that the Heat were healthy. Y'all are not gonna believe this. Chris Paul got to the finals. Who let CP3 get into the finals? Giannis didn't win just 1, not 2 games, wasn't stopping at 3, but 4 games in a row for the sweep, and finally a taste of his 2nd championship to get halfway to LeBron. And these final MVP stats cannot be serious. Almost a 39-point triple-double. By 2014, Giannis's star teammates were starting to regress. If he wanted to win another ring this year, he was going to have to take matters into his own hands. He was completely running the show, from the defense to taking on the rebounding duties to handling the scoring load for his team. It was yet another successful season for the Greek Freak, and he would cap it all off with another MVP to go along with the top seed in the East. Round 1 of the playoffs was versus an up-and-coming John Wall. Giannis and his squad were taking care of business in this series. The veteran leadership of the Big Three created a glaring advantage over the young Wizards. While Washington certainly battled hard, they just didn't have a legitimate chance, as Miami will end their season after 5. Versus his old team in round 2, Giannis wasn't holding back and would send them packing after just 4 games. But come the conference finals, we will be in for a fun matchup versus Paul George and the Pacers. The MVP came into the series on fire though. He lived for one-on-one matches like these versus Paul George. Even though Giannis was coming for his neck, George was still collected during the series. He'd find ways to get to his spots, even with the 5-time Defensive Player of the Year looming over his every move. He averaged over 30 points per game for the series, but Giannis and Miami were still the clear favorites to win, and they would do just that. Come finals time though, it's looking like the narrative for this series would be different, with Kawhi guarding Giannis. Things are more difficult for him here than they were in the Eastern matchups, and this thing was in a Game 7. Game 7 was being controlled by Tim Duncan early. He oftentimes had a mismatch in the paint and was executing every opportunity, even in his old age. Come halftime, the Spurs had a 15-point lead, and all of the media chalked this one up as over. So it was time to prove the doubters wrong. Giannis let off a barrage of dunks in the second half, and after slowly chipping away at the lead, he gave his team a chance. We are in our first Game 7 in a long while. Miami is up by 1 versus San Antonio. Giannis has a chance for ring number 3 already. He would be ahead of LeBron in the ultimate timeline. Giannis, one-on-one with Tim Duncan, pulls the mid-range. It's off against the board again. He misses. board again, puts it in. It's like deja vu. Giannis again in the clutch with the rebound after the mid-range shot. Look at Ginobili on the sideline, pissed. Tony Parker has it. 48 seconds remaining. He's got the ice switch. Wayne Wade. One-on-one. He's driving it in. Spin move. He creates separation. His leg is good. 40 seconds remaining. Still a lot of time here. I would not be mad about a Ray Allen 3. We know he can game him with one of those. They get it to Giannis again. Tim Duncan on him. The pump. Nowhere to go. The tough lay. Oh, my God. Back out to Parker. The pick and roll. Giannis picks him up. The defense is off. Giannis the board. He gets it the way. Thank God Giannis ain't shooting these throws. I love seeing Miami subbing Shane Battier for defense instead of Ray Allen now. Dwayne Wade, free throw number 2 to go up by 3. He gets it in, and the Spurs use their final timeout. Just shy of 7 seconds remaining in this game. They get it to Danny Green in the corner of the pump. Oh, no. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker wide open. Oh, my God. He gets it in! No! I can't believe they just let Tony Parker tie the game. What are they going to do? Probably force a terrible 3. That's usually what this computer does. Don't tell me it's Mario Chalmers from half court. Oh, my God. Mario Chalmers for 3. Here in overtime, it's a 2-point game. Miami has the lead with 16 seconds left to go. San Antonio has a chance to tie this again. Tony Parker did it in regulation. Who's going to be here in overtime? Danny Green! I don't even know what just happened. Miami has it, though. 6 seconds left. Mario Chalmers has it. 3 seconds. Oh, my. What are they doing? Giannis in the clutch. Oh, my God. Chalmers does hit both free throws. San Antonio using the last timeout. You get a stop here, and the series is over. You win a championship. You have to get a stop. They inbounded Tony Parker. Do not let this man tie this thing up again. I couldn't believe my eyes when it happened. Tony Parker to drive. Terrible shot. Terrible shot. They get the board. This one should be over. And just like that, Giannis is officially at 3 championships. In 2015, Giannis went back to Cleveland after the owner promised an endless supply of his favorite snacks, Oreos. He was now teamed up with superstar Kyrie Irving, and their pick and roll was scary good. Even Giannis as the ball handler for a pick and roll with Kevin Love was just as terrifying for opposing defenses. Love's ability to pop off the screen completely opened up the floor for Giannis. With Irving's high-level talent, Giannis was able to allow his team to perform and not carry the entire load on his back. The extra rest allowed him to excel when needed, and they earned an incredible record. Eventually, he would find himself in the conference finals versus the Bulls. Butler improved tremendously since the last time Giannis faced the Bulls. He was now an all-star, helping out D Rose, and adding Pau Gasol to the mix would make this a true challenge. Giannis was finding trouble scoring in the paint due to the Bulls' great size with Gasol and Noah, and the same size was benefiting Chicago on the other end. Pau Gasol was serious trouble for Kevin Love guarding him down low, and the Cavs would have to act fast. Their answer would be to attack Dunleavy and Rose in a pick and roll. They were harassing the Bulls' weak links in the defense, and once they implemented this strategy, it was all over for Chicago. And believe it or not, this would be the first matchup versus Kevin Durant. Durant was averaging 31 points a night in the playoffs, and that wasn't stopping in the finals. He was aggressive and clearly not fazed by the defensive pressure of Giannis, and he'd strip home court advantage away from Giannis after 2. Giannis would be heading into OKC for a huge Game 3. While Giannis struggled to contain KD, Durant was also having difficulty slowing down Giannis' size. He was barreling through the lane like a locomotive, and they would split these 2 games in OKC as well. The momentum carried into a crucial Game 5 where Giannis exploded for 54 and the win. And the Cavs are running away with it here late in Game 6. Giannis is winning ring 4. And now the Greek Freak is all tied up with LeBron and only needs one more ring to have a better career. He would quickly have another chance to do just that after marching through the weak East. But somewhere along the way, Kevin Love would get hurt for the season. This injury to Kevin Love literally cannot come at a worse time. And that's because they were about to face the toughest challenge yet. Both teams were loaded up with star power and going at each other. Right from the start, this series was looking primed to go down in the history books as one of the best ever. Golden State would fire off a run with their elite shooters, and the Cavaliers would follow right behind with a well-rounded attack by their whole team. Every match of this series came down to the final deciding moments. These teams were the epitome of equally matched. Giannis and Curry were both leading effectively with impactful play that wasn't faltering. This one couldn't be any closer between the two as they ended up in a Game 7 down to the wire. This Game 7 is all tied up with 1:17 seconds remaining. Kyrie ever has the ball. Giannis can win ring number 5 here if they can just overcome and outlast the Golden State Warriors. Kyrie with it, Curry on him, Anderson Varejao center the screen. Kyrie operating the lay. That's got to be good. It is. The Warriors on the other end. No threes. You cannot give up a 3 with a minute to go. Don't let them get the lead. Curry, he's wide open. He's driving around. Kyrie on him. Curry getting into the paint. Oh, Ezeli on the roll. The Cavaliers have it now. 45 seconds to go. 20 seconds left on the shot clock. Kyrie with it. Is he going to get a screen again? It's looking like they're just bringing another screen. Same play as last time. Kyrie driving in. He's too fast. He gets in. Let's find out what Steve Kerr drew up for the Warriors. What are they going to do here? Down by 2. 30 seconds left in the game. Curry has it. I'm not surprised by that just yet. The isolation so far with Kyrie. 12 seconds left. He gets the screen from Ezeli again. The exact same play again. Curry's too foul. Curry dunks it. We are witnessing history here in this game 7. All knotted up. 17 seconds left. Kyrie has it again. Is it going to be Kyrie's show again, or is Giannis going to get involved? Is Kyrie going to have to save Giannis' legacy? He's got a history of doing that. 10 seconds left. It's looking like it's all Kyrie versus Curry. He's not even using a screen. 5 seconds. Kyrie blowing by him. He's too fast. He gets it in for the lead. No timeouts unless they get a full court heave. This could be over. Curry, full court. Oh, shit. Yo, he almost fucking made that thing, bro. That was too close for comfort. And Giannis has officially done it. He has passed LeBron. After Giannis proved that he was better, LeBron would take his talent to China with the Guangdong Tigers. Find out how he did. Today, we're re-simulating Rose's career, but we're giving it to Ja Morant. He joined Chicago as the #1 overall draft pick, and right out the gate started to have a huge impact on the Bulls. His style of play was very similar to Rose's, which led to him fitting into that role seamlessly. The ability to finish with a soft touch around the rim, paired with his athleticism, made him a force to be reckoned with in the paint, which led to him averaging a very impressive 19 points per game in his NBA debut season. And in the first season, Ja Morant does get himself Rookie of the Year. 19 points a game is a lot for a rookie, but they still ended up barely missing the playoffs. In year 2, his best teammate Gordon left to Detroit, but this allowed Ja to have more time with the ball now. His team would struggle early, but on the bright side, he was getting a lot of time to develop his game. He started to shoot the ball more by this point and increased his three-point percentage from the previous year, and that wasn't the only stat that saw a bump. His overall points per game output increased by 9 points per game, and they'd sneak into the playoffs by the end of the season. And he would find himself in a head-to-head matchup with Gilbert Arenas for his first ever series. Unfortunately, though, Morant's playoff debut would be rocky. He was shooting awful, 4 for 16, and couldn't get hot, which led to Chicago losing the game. In game 2, Arenas outclassed Ja again, and now headed back to Chicago, he was down 2-0. Finally, in the comfort of playing in front of his home fans, he'd find a rhythm and manage to lead all scorers with 36, and even sunk in 5 of his 6 three-point attempts for the game. This was enough to get him a win, but it would be the last of the series as Washington controlled the next 2 games and bounced Morant. In 2011, he was eager to improve his game and work on it with his teammates during the offseason. He was ready to make a deep playoff push, and he knew he would have to put the work in to get there. He was also getting some level of help this year with Carlos Boozer joining the team. While no longer an all-star, he was still able to add 18 points per game into the mix and was an exceptional pick-and-roll partner for Ja Morant. Morant himself was looking like a superstar, and the hard work was paying off as they finished with a 63-19 record. The Carmelo-led Knicks would be their opponent in round 1, and he'd be paired with all-star teammate Amari Stoudemire. But Chauncey Billups was checking Ja, and that just wasn't going to cut it on defense. Every possession seemed to end in a blow-by, resulting in the Knicks bigs being jammed on. Even when the defense would beat him to the spot, he would virtually float forever until he was able to get the layup in. This series was easy for Ja, and it would be his time to advance. Danny Granger in round 2 would seemingly be a downgrade from round 1, and Morant would see this as an opportunity for an easy trip to the conference finals. We'd see more of the same from Ja as he attacked the paint and abused the 2-man game with Boozer until he won 4 games straight. And then came the real challenge. Yeah, I knew we would have to go through them. The duo of LeBron and Dwayne Wade was living up to the reputation of being one of the greatest duos of all time. They were both MVP caliber players with uber athleticism, throwing down lobs. Pairing them with the third star Chris Bosh created a 3-man dynamic that would be incredibly difficult to surpass. Ja and the Bulls would not back down from the challenge, though. Morant was showing why he was one of the top scorers in the NBA during the season, and the team was playing as a unit to put themselves in the best position to win. Their defense was sharp, and Joakim Noah turned the paint into a living hell for anyone who dared challenge him down there. This Chicago team had brought their A game this series, and after 4 games, they found themselves owning a 3-1 lead. And the Bulls are actually blowing Miami out here in game 6. They're gonna win the series. They're going to the finals. The finals will be another challenging matchup versus Dirk, who won it that year in real life. The Mavs had a legitimate paint defender to slow down Ja, and on the other end, Chandler was also a huge lob threat for Jason Kidd. The Bulls were still finding openings in the Mavs' elite defense, though, and Ja would take advantage of the chances to score over Chandler when he had them. On defense, Joakim was still locking things down in the paint, except versus Dirk. Dirk was in a league of his own with a patented one-legged fadeaway. This made it impossible for Noah to get off good contests, and Dirk was eating Chicago alive. Continuing to attack the defense with elite footwork in the post, Nowitzki was able to get the series to a game 7. And we have a close one here in game 7. The Bulls have the lead. With the season on the line, line, Dallas would trust in their star. He had the ball down low in the post with one man to beat, and he would deliver. Massive shot from Dirk to get this thing back tied up a minute to go. Ja has it, and he's looking to score here. Joakim Noah trying to set the moving screen. He misses. Ja driving in. Jason Kidd, one man to beat. The little leader. He gets it in. Bulls 2-point lead. Dallas back on this end. Jason Terry operating. They're getting it to Dirk again. Carlos Boozer defending him. Another fadeaway. Oh, the turnaround is off! While holding the lead and the ball in his hands, Ja would try to land the dagger with a strong drive to the paint, but it was deterred by Dallas, who had a chance to tie it up. Back on the other end, Dallas is only down by 2. They can take the lead, or they can tie this game up. 22 seconds left, 7 seconds separated, shot clock, game clock. They're going to Dirk again. Carlos Boozer, stone him. He just shoots it over him. It's off again! Chicago has a chance to win it all. CJ Watson will end up splitting his free throws, and Dallas had one final opportunity. 13 seconds left. Dallas just got out of a timeout huddle. Let's see what they drew up. They're down by 3. I don't think it makes any sense to go for the 2 hit. You have no timeouts left. Yeah, he just pulls it. Jason Kidd. Joakim the rebound. As long as Joe hits one of these free throws, that's gonna do it. You got to get at least one, man. You have to get at least one. He hits it, thank God. And Ja has officially already won a ring, only in season 3 with the Bulls. After their first ring, management didn't settle, and they improved their roster by adding Rip Hamilton. They were right back in the playoffs versus the Bucks, who are possibly the worst playoff team I have ever seen. Larry Sanders being the second best player wasn't going to get it done, and the series was over before it even started. Round 2, though, Dwight was ready to swat anything Morant brought into the paint. This series was filled with Ja challenging Dwight at the rim on one end, and then Dwight challenging Noah on the other side. It felt more like a dunk contest than a playoff series, but the Bulls still advanced to 6 and landed a rematch with the Heat. And the Booze Crews just got hurt for the season. He's not going to be available for the Miami series. Hopefully they can still win without him. Ja would quickly run away with games 1 and 2, and things looked like they were going to be a repeat of last year. But Wade would completely flip this switch in efforts to save LeBron's legacy by having his best play since the 2006 finals. D-Wade had totally turned back the clock. It was conquering his hometown team's defense, and with no way to limit Wade's attack, Miami would go on to win the next 3 games. In game 6, Ja would retaliate from Wade's attack and produce a near flawless game in order to get his team a game 7 appearance. Ja with LeBron, he's using the screen, the little floater. He nails it to cut the lead down to 17. Hey, shout out to that one Chris Paul clip. This one's over though. Chicago lost. After the loss to the Heat, Joakim Noah would greatly improve his offensive game. The following season, he became a high-level playmaker and earned a spot as an all-star. This fit perfectly with Ja as they earned the first seed. The first 2 rounds of the playoffs would be easy wins versus the old Celtics in round 1 and the Pacers in round 2. And what a surprise, they play Miami in the conference finals again. This is starting to become an iconic NBA rivalry, but it was looking very one-sided. 2014 was going the same as the last few seasons. Ja was dominating in the regular season, and he earned his first MVP of his career while getting the Bulls the best record. In the playoffs, he'd blaze straight through the first 2 rounds again by sweeping Detroit in round 1, and then DeRozan and the Raptors in round 2 were good, but too young to compete just yet, and from there, the Heat rivalry would continue. This time around, though, Jimmy Butler pushed his game to a higher level and formed a big 3 with Ja and Noah. LeBron was playing his best basketball of his career, though, and things wouldn't be easy. Morant kept his foot on the pedal this whole series, though. After losing the last 2 years to Miami, he was treating every single match like a game 7, and Miami would be stunned. They swept them! They swept them, boys! Come on, Chicago back in the finals. Finally back in the finals, Ja was taking on KD. This series featured the 2 leading scorers in the NBA, and they were battling it out for the title of the best scorer. One after another, they would match each other's shots. There was no clear favor between the 2, and they seemed to be equally matched. The teams would bounce games back and forth 1 for 1 until it was all tied up 3-3. We have another game 7. Chicago absolutely crushed them in game 7, though, and Morant officially earned his 2nd ring. The defending champs got even better the following year with Pau Gasol. LeBron left back to Cleveland this year, and with him being upset by the Hawks, Ja would walk straight through the East for a trip to the finals. We had a guard matchup in the finals with Ja versus Curry, and they had very different styles of games, but they were both exceptional. Ja attacked the paint, and Curry sniped from deep. Ja had the better overall team, though, which gave him the edge for this series. With them up 3-2 in the last seconds of game 6, they had a chance for ring number 3. With the game tied, Curry went for a tough floater, but Joakim Noah deterred the shot enough to force a miss and get Chicago the ball. The Bulls have the ball now, tied up with over a minute to go. John Morant with the ball. Andre Iguodala guarding him. They get over to Jimmy Butler. Down low to Patterson. Huge mismatch. Curry. Oh, he gets Curry off him. The hook. He misses the wide open hook. Warriors have it. Pau Gasol is settling. Curry pulls it from deep. He gets it in. Chicago still has time. Ja has it versus Curry on him. 50 seconds remain. Ja driving in the open paint. He kicks it to Dunleavy. The big 3. He gets it in! Golden State, let's see what they drew up in the timeout. They get it to Curry. I mean, who else is going to have the ball in a moment like this? Steph Curry with John him. 37 seconds remain. Clay, quick pull. It's off. The Bulls have it. Ja after the break. He's driving in. He's pulling it quick. The floater's off. The Warriors get it again. Curry on the break on this end. Steph slowing it down. Joakim on him. Joe is a fantastic perimeter defender for his size. Steph, he pulls it back out. He didn't want that drive. Joe is still on him. Klay Thompson running around some screens. Ja goes down. 4 seconds left. The screen is coming. Jimmy, you have to pick that up. Steph, nowhere to go to top three. It's off. Bulls the board. Timeout. What does Chicago have played here with 1.6 left? You don't have a lot of time. Is it going to go to Ja? Is it going to go to Jimmy? Maybe pound down low. Ja from half court. It's in overtime, Ja maintained the momentum from Dunleavy's huge three, and he'd score all 14 of the overtime points and lead his team to a win to complete the repeat. The Bulls wouldn't be as strong the following year with Joakim regressing a lot, and the Bulls would fall in round 2. A trade would occur during the offseason to send Ja to the Knicks. He joined all-star teammate Carmelo and Tingus Pingus, but their supporting cast was awful. And for the first time since his rookie year, Ja missed the playoffs. Ja was ready to team up with a superstar to get back to winning, so he joined forces with LeBron James. They were insane together, but Ja smashed the owner's daughter, so he would be traded at the deadline. He was sent to the Timberwolves, and he was reunited with Butler, who had entered his prime along with Karl Anthony Towns, who was one of the best centers in the league. Minnesota took over the NBA after adding Ja. They'd be locked for the 3rd seed and 1 win away from another finals appearance. Ja had outplayed Steph and defeated him before, but this time around, Durant had joined forces with him, and his scoring was at its all-time peak. Morant had also outperformed KD as well, but Steph and KD together was different. The Warriors had a strong lead heading into the halftime break. Morant would give it his all in the second half, attempting to carry this team. He was slowly cutting the lead down 1 possession at a time and gave Minnesota a sliver of hope. After 2 quarters of battling, he got the game within 6 points, but Golden State was just out of reach. The Bulls ended up trading Butler at the deadline next year, which killed any chance the Wolves had of contending. In 2020, he was on the Pistons, and that's enough said. From there, Ja went back to New York, and the first couple of seasons were good, but didn't end with any rings. In 2023, Brunson joined the Knicks, and they tried to run a small ball lineup with Ja playing at the 2. Well, that small ball shit is not working. They got worse. They're going to be in the play-in. Tatum and Brown were walking into playing with confidence against the Knicks. Once they got on the court, they showed why, and Tatum would crush the small ball lineup as they'd smack the Knicks easily. New York would have one more chance, though, versus Indiana, and Ja was struggling early versus these young Pacers. He would eventually catch a rhythm though and finding ways to score, but he began getting cocky, and Indiana would end up with a chance. The Knicks are in a playing game with this thing tied with 90 seconds left. The Pacers have the ball. How did they even get here? This Knicks team is supposed to be good. Buddy Hield driving it in. He's hurt. Mitch Robinson forces a jump ball. Thank God. The Knicks win the jump, and quickly is on the fast break. Actually, he gets slowed down. Buddy Hield stopping him. Oh, is he gonna force a bad shot? They get out to RJ Barrett. They're swinging around to Randall. I don't see Brunson on the court. It's actually just Ja out there. Randall driving in, draws the foul. Randall does hit both. I don't know why Halliburton's not in the court. I checked, he's not fouled out. Buddy Hield is handling it here. TJ McConnell coming around looking for it. 56 seconds left in this game. The screen for Tice. Buddy Hield trying to get open. He's driving it in. He's going up, challenging Mitchell Robinson. It's off. Robinson gets the board, but the dumbass is out of bounds. Indiana has it again. Tyrese is checked in now. They're only down by 2. Tyrese driving in. Kicks it in the corner. Noir. Oh, that's a mismatch. Julius Randle's too little. Tyrese. John Morant guarding him. They get into Tice. Nowhere to go. Mathurin at the buzzer. It's off. The Knicks get the board. Quickly has it here. The Pacers are not going to foul. They're going to go for the stop. They get it down low to Randall. The trust of Randall in the clutch. Oh, that was Barrett. Ja has it now, though. Mitch Robinson the screen. Ja, the right side of the court, all to himself. Driving it in. Nowhere to go. He's trying to force it. I'm pretty sure he was out of bounds. Delay. It's off, but he gets the board. Ja hit the first. The second one is big. Kind of puts it out of reach, or at least it should. This ending has been out of control, kind of like the season for the Knicks in general. They shouldn't even be in the play. This should be an easy like 2 or 1 seed. The deep 3 is no good. The Knicks are actually making it to round 1. His round 1 matchup was versus the Hawks and superstar Trae Young. For an 8 seed, they'd actually put up a respectable fight versus the 1st seed, and it appeared they might actually be able to pull off the upset. They would fight admirably, but in the end, they would end up falling short. And another loss for Ja. Since leaving the Bulls, he just has not been able to get anything done. Desperate for one more title, he would join the contender Grizzlies. And yes, he's playing with Derrick Rose. Look, I needed someone to replace the OG Ja on the Grizzlies roster. I figured who better than year 4 Derrick Rose. Needless to say, these these two were incredible together. Once this team got on a fast break, it was all but guaranteed that they would score and they would finish with the best record in the West. Morant was eager to make another deep playoff run with Sacramento in round one. He'd take the first step by leading all scorers with 31 in a clean sweep of the Kings. There'd be a strong backcourt waiting in round two, but Ja and Rose were better. This athletic duo was dominating everything in their way and would advance again. Finally, with Zion Williamson as their last hurdle, D Rose and Ja would be advancing to the NBA Finals. He earned the opportunity for a rematch versus the Hawks, and he was thirsty for revenge. So he would score at will and get the Grizzlies a strong 3-1 series lead. Trae Young was not going to be falling that easily though. He kept fighting in games 5 and 6, and there was nothing Ja could do to stop him. This series was all tied up, and we would be in for a treat. Ja Morant is a few stops away from another NBA championship. The Hawks are down by 3. Trae Young has it. This is a game 7. Winner go home. Trae Young driving down the Rose. He kicks out of Sadiq Bey, slowing it down. Jaren Jackson, defensive player of the year, guarding him. Trae Young curling around. He's driving it in. Trae, the lay. He gets it in. Ja Morant has on this side for the Grizzlies. They're still up by 1, looking to extend the lead. 1:18 seconds remain in this game 7 thriller. Ja driving it in. The tough shot. That's off. Trae on the fast break here. Sizing up his competition. He's going quick. He takes a tough jumper, and his is off as well. Derrick Rose gets it over to Ja. Ja's pushing the pace. He's trying to go quick. He gets it down. No, the Jaren Jackson mismatch. He gets the layover. Trae Young. The Grizzlies are back up by 3. A stop here, and this one is just about over. You have to get a stop here. This is huge. Trae Young sizing up Derrick Rose, driving in on him. The tough leaner. It's off. Rose the rebound. You score here, and this is over. You get a bucket, and you're an NBA champion. Derrick Rose, Trae Young, AM. They get it to Ja. Ja with a legacy moment right here. 1-on-1. DeJounte Murray's got the rest of the court all to himself. Between the legs, he's driving it in. The pull-up J. Oh, it's off. Bane gets it, and he puts it up and in. And Ja would be a champion one final time before retiring. He'd end his career here in Memphis with a highly decorated career full of accolades. But what about another great guard like Kyrie getting into all-time greats career? Find out by clicking this video. We're gonna reach him Allen Iverson's career, but we're giving it to Kyrie Irving. And our goal is for Kyrie to do what AI never could. Kyrie was drafted #1 overall by the 76ers and immediately began to have an impact on the organization in his rookie year. With very little talent on the team, it allowed coach to commit to developing Kyrie fully and giving him the green light on the court. He took advantage of this green light by scoring more trips down the court than not. His skills were tough to match from defenders, and he was able to be one of the top 15 points per game leaders in the NBA on very solid efficiency. His offensive bag didn't stop there either, as he demonstrated the ability to be a facilitator as well. He may have not had the best teammates in the league, but he absolutely made them look better than they actually were, as he added 5.6 assists per game to his already excellent rookie campaign. This would all be enough to earn himself the Rookie of the Year trophy, but it wasn't enough to make a difference for his team. Kyrie's been killing it, but his team has not at all. This is gonna be a journey trying to win a ring. After tasting failure the season before, Kyrie came out prepared. He continued improving past his rookie year with some increases to his averages, and he was beginning to look like a future superstar of this league, and he'd have his first opportunity to prove it as he'd be headed to the playoffs this season. But he's going to be facing Michael Jordan. Yeah, this is not going to be an easy first series for Kyrie's career. It's going to be tough to advance. Kyrie wasn't backing down from the challenge though. With Jordan as his primary defender, he was still looking to score, and he did just that. Jordan's defense wasn't affecting him. He was still finding ways to score efficiently while carrying his team on his back. While MJ and the Bulls were fresh off of back-to-back championships, Kyrie was looking like he'd end their three-peat hopes as he exploded for 42 and earned his team a 1-0 lead. Of course, Jordan wasn't going to go out that easily though. On his home floor again for game 2, he retaliated after the surprise sucker punch from Kyrie in game 1. He wasn't planning on letting this second-year guard come in the way of his three-peat, and he'd take back control and tie up this series. Mike wasn't letting up in Philly either. In enemy territory, he continued this personal attack against Kyrie, and it was clear Jordan thought Irving overstepped his boundaries. Every trip down the court, Mike was harassing Kyrie in the post. It was a size mismatch, and it was being exploited. Post fade after post fade was raining in over Irving, and the lead was expanding for Chicago. On defense, Jordan was absolutely hounding Kyrie. He was smothering him and aggressively swiping for steals, and this series was looking finished with the GOAT locked in like this. And just when you thought it was over, Kyrie trusted his teammates. Kyrie Irving with the ball. 5 seconds left on the clock. Kyrie 1-on-1. He gets the switch. He kicks it to Montrose. The pull-up. It's good. Yo, Montrose hits it. Montrose hits it. The Sixers win. The fans of Philly were electric for Game 6, and Kyrie wasn't letting the Game 5 heroics go to waste. He would continue scoring versus Chicago's defense and kept an arm-length lead for the duration of the match, and this was headed to a Game 7. Jordan was red hot out of the gates in his pinnacle moment of the first round, scoring at ease. Unfortunately for Kyrie, this hot start would carry on through the whole match, and this would be a blowout win as he was eliminated. But Kyrie would be left inspired by Jordan's determination. During the offseason, Kyrie trained with his team every single day. They were grinding together, pushing for something more. Kyrie's reps in the court were paying off, and he was developing at a lightning pace. In just his third year in the NBA, he would rise to a 90 overall. He earned his first All-Star appearance and another trip to the NBA playoffs, in which All-Star Paul Pierce was waiting on the other end. Kyrie did his thing in this series and left the fans of basketball with a beautiful performance. He picked through the Celtics D with a variety of moves and averaged some unbelievable numbers in this series. The Sixers looked fantastic this year, but he wasn't advancing out of round 1 just yet. Season 4, Kyrie's back in the playoffs versus the Knicks, and they definitely have a pretty solid starting lineup, but Kyrie Irving is by far the best player in the court. Let's see if he can finally win a series. Kyrie was still committed to winning his first playoff series. Buzz around the world was that he wasn't a winning player, and he wanted to prove them wrong. There was zero shortage of scoring at all for him during this series, but with Tony Kukoc being your second best player, it would be hard to win. Kyrie kept doing his thing though, unleashing an offensive masterclass, and he'd get this team to a Game 7, but he simply didn't have enough to get things done. Oh, he loses in 7. Bro, Kyrie is putting up crazy numbers here in the playoffs, but his team just sucks. But the team will get a bit better the next season. Kyrie was punishing teams' defense in a pick and roll with a proper center at his side. On defense, Mutombo anchored the paint, blocking anybody who challenged him, and the Sixers finished this season with their best record yet. In round 1, they faced a defending champs with Reggie Miller and Jalen Rose. Kyrie was confident this year now that he had Mutombo with him. He would average a double-double for the series by feeding the big man on the roll, and of course getting his own with his crafty handles, but the team still wasn't good enough. Oh my God, bro, this man literally cannot get out of round 1. Something clicked in year 6 though, as they were on fire. Round 1 was a rematch versus New York, and Kyrie remembered losing to them in Game 7 last time. He refused to experience this again. He was taking care of business, taking games 1 and 2 at home, and New York would defend their home court in Game 3 with a win, but that would be their last victory, and Kyrie has finally won a playoff series. Kyrie's finally done it, man. He's won a playoff series. Let's go. Things were getting more difficult in round 2 though versus the Magic. Prime T-Mac was healthy and ready to take a leap with Orlando. Paired with his co-star Grant Hill, they would be a formidable opponent, but Mutombo would have an advantage as they lacked size in the front court, and he would flip his game from defense to offense and pound the paint with strong post moves. Even in his old age, he had plenty left in the tank to assist his team in a 4-0 sweep for a conference finals appearance versus Jason Kidd and the 1-seeded Nets. Jason's size defensively made things difficult for Kyrie, and offensively it was even worse as Kidd used his skilled post play, and that was enough to take a 1-0 lead. Back in Game 2, Kyrie was finding holes in Kidd's defense to exploit. His scoring explosion was enough to get his team back into the series before heading into Philly. In Philadelphia, the patented Kyrie and Mutombo pick and roll was working all night long, and New Jersey couldn't keep up as Philly took a 2-1 lead. And a crucial Game 4 would be one on the defensive end. Philadelphia's defense was dialed in, not only from Mutombo, but from the entire team was doing their part, and Kyrie was only 1 win away from the NBA Finals, and he'd have a chance to get it in a huge Game 5. Kyrie and the Sixers are up in this series 3-1, and they're in a huge Game 5. They are up by 1 with the ball with 90 seconds remaining. They have a chance to win this and have a trip to the NBA Finals. Kyrie using that pick and roll with Mutombo has been working all series. Kyrie the drive, they get a Mutombo, and that lay is good. 3-point lead. Kyrie with 31 and 11 tonight. Jason Kidd 24 and 14. They're going at each other. Jason Kidd one-on-one with Kyrie again. The ISO, he's bigger. He's using it to his advantage to hot stuff in the paint. That lay's good. Can Kyrie get to the finals? He went from never winning a series to a possible trip to the finals. He's driving in on Kidd. He gets by the great defender. That lay is good. Kyrie has it up by 3. Jason Kidd trying to match him down here on the other end. 50 seconds remaining. He's making a quick crossover move. Surveying the field. He's a fantastic passer. You can't leave anyone open. He gives it to Roger. Tough lay. It's off. They get the board. Eric Snow with the ball. He's been with Kyrie for years. Kyrie has the backdoor. Fine. Mickey. It's good. New Jersey has the ball down by 5. They could still win. They have plenty of time. You get a quick 3 here. Maybe miss a free throw and you have a chance. Jason Kidd going in quick. Trying for the 2. He's trying to force it inside. The foul. What? That's clean. That was a clean block. He misses 1 free throw. The Nets have the ball. They're only down by 4 now. If they go quick, get a 3, they have a chance. Jason Kidd pulls it. It's off. Mutombo to rebound. I think that's going to do it. Kyrie's headed to the finals. And Kyrie's won the conference finals. He's on his way to the NBA Finals where the lights are the brightest. These finals wouldn't be easy though against Tim Duncan and the Spurs. Mutombo would have his hands full in the paint with both Tim Duncan down low and David Robinson still feasting in the paint. The Spurs backcourt was just as sharp, with the first-time All-Star Tony Parker leading the charge, and of course we can't forget Sixth Man of the Year Ginobili coming off of the bench. Kyrie was in the finals for a reason though. The Sixers would be fighting hard themselves. Kyrie was still averaging 30 points per game in the series, and he was trading blows with the dynasty Spurs. It was an absolute slugfest between the two teams without either taking control. The regular season MVP Duncan was scoring on an out of this world efficiency, but Kyrie was pulling threes at a rate the league had not seen as of yet. These two kept this series completely deadlocked all the way to a game 7. This game took place in Philadelphia, and the Stars were playing as you would expect. Kyrie and Duncan were both in a scoring contest, matching each other point for point. It would have to be decided with the final few shots. We're in the final moments of this game 7. San Antonio has a 1-point lead, minute 40 left, and they have a chance to extend the lead here. Tony Parker with the ball, Kyrie Irving guarding him. He's taking him to the left wing. They get it down low to Tim Duncan, who slams it in. Billy has plenty of time though. Kyrie with the ball and a chance to do what Iverson never couldn't, and that's win a ring from no playoff series 1 to a possible NBA championship. One-on-one with Tony Parker. He gets that screen from Mutombo. It's been working all year. David Robinson with the block, but Kyrie gets it back up and in. Tony Parker on this end, that just threw me off. Kyrie got separation from Robinson, but he still blocked it. Tony Parker has it on the right side with Kyrie. Is Tony gonna attack Kyrie? It looks like he is. He's driving it in. The little floater, it's no good. Tim Duncan the board though, and he puts it in. Kyrie hits both free throws by no surprise. San Antonio ball again though. This is back and forth, man. Back and forth. 45 seconds left. Tony Parker with Kyrie again. Tony sizing him up. He's driving it in. Nowhere to go. Great defense by Kyrie. He kicks down low to Tim Duncan though. In the post, the fundamental. The lay. Oh, he almost had an and-one. Tim Duncan hit both free throws. 3-point game. Kyrie has it with 30 seconds left. He gets the screen from Mutombo. Is he gonna go for the 2 and 3? He's got Tony Parker one-on-one on this side of the court. The floater. It's off. Kyrie misses it. After 2 more free throws, it's a 5-point game again. Kyrie has it. 10 seconds left. They get it to Buckner. Kyrie doesn't even want the shot. Wow. And Kyrie's gonna lose yet again, missing out on a ring. With Dikembe leaving for New Jersey after this loss, many feared Kyrie's championship window may have closed, and they may have been right. In year 8, Kyrie was still putting up solid numbers, but it wasn't enough to flip the script, and Philly was still a losing team. Come 2005, Kyrie would be back in the playoffs versus the Nets. Chris Webber had joined the Sixers this season and would make all the difference. Kyrie had been waiting to get back in the playoffs, and he wasn't letting this opportunity slip. He'd single-handedly blow out the Nets in a 4-game sweep. The MVP of the league was waiting for them in round 2, though. His offensive abilities were far more than impressive, and he would torch the limited Sixers defense. Kyrie didn't stand much of a chance and would fall in 6. Well, here in 2006, they completely missed the playoffs altogether. But things are about to get a little more interesting next season. And that was because Kyrie would be traded to the Denver Nuggets. For the first time in his career, he would be alongside a star teammate with Carmelo Anthony. Without a doubt, this would be one of the most elite scoring duos that this league will ever see. They were the first and second leading scorers in the NBA this year, and they combined for on average 63 points per night. Kyrie was feeling like he was on top of the world as he was finally on a high-level team. He ended the season with his best record ever and would be in the playoffs versus the Golden State Warriors. These Warriors played hard for an 8 seed, but Kyrie's scoring abilities were too much. He'd average 34 a night, and he coasted by into round 2. Round 2 was the battle of the point guards with CP3 and Kyrie Irving. Game 1 and 2, they would be equally matched, and the series would be tied up in a 1-1 stalemate. Game 3, Kyrie and Carmelo would have far too much firepower for the Hornets to handle. They'd win this one on the road for a 2-1 series lead, but in Game 4, CP3 was dissecting the Nuggets pick-and-roll defense and getting all of his teammates involved to rally them on to tie the series right back up. Come Game 5, the winner of this would likely win this series. Both teams knew this, and they were locked in. Carmelo was having a very strong game as he was attacking aggressively, and both point guards were facilitating more than the scoring, but in the end, CP3 and the Hornets would have the edge to win it. And down 2 late in Game 6, Kyrie faced possible elimination. In this Game 6, Kyrie is down by 2 with a minute and 20 to go. He has the ball here, has a chance to score, get this thing back to the protect the lead. He gets down low to Carmelo. Carmelo, the lay, it's off. He gets the rebound though. They need a score. Melo pump fake. The lay, no, foul! How? The Hornets have the ball. I know it's Pelicans on the court. Don't ask questions. This is the Hornets. Peja Stojakovic has it. CP3 in the corner. Kyrie guarding him. He's driving it in. Nowhere to go. Pump fakes. The tough leaner. That's off. Denver has a chance. 48 seconds. Kyrie, the season is on the line. Why did he not push it across the drive? The open leg. Kyrie ties it up. 42 seconds left. CP3 has the ice cone symbol on his player. He's ice cold. He's frozen. He's still trying to force it up. Gets it to Tyson Chandler. They kick it back on a Pargo. Who is this guy? I don't even know who this is. David West, I think that is coming to set the screen. West opening the ball. Pargo. No way you lose to Pargo. No way you lose to Pargo. Potentially the final possession. Carmelo has it. Carmelo or Kyrie. That's your only two options right here. Melo or Kyrie. 18 seconds left. About half a second difference. Shot clock and game clock. The screen. Carmelo operating. He's driving in. The little pull up. No, it's off. They foul. No timeouts for Denver. They have to go quick here. Kyrie's taking his time. Get up that court. You have to shoot it. Oh no. Kyrie, shoot. Kyrie loses again, man, and it's only going to get harder from here. But the following season, they'd pick right back up where they left off. And Kyrie's officially teamed up with the MVP of the entire NBA. This has got to be the year that he wins it all. They faced a young Kevin Durant in round 1, and their veteran play allowed them to walk right past them. Round 2 featured Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. The entire Nuggets team rose to the challenge. They knew this may be their last year to get it done, and they were taking advantage. The defense was clicking. The paint was on complete lockdown with blocks, and on offense, everyone was playing their part. It was truly a showcase of just how good this Denver team was. Kyrie had his sights on the championship, and he would be one step closer as he closed this series out with a sweep. In the conference finals, they'd be facing an old foe in Tim Duncan. This time around, Kyrie had help with Carmelo, and he'd be out to get his revenge from the finals. He took this series by storm, and the Spurs weren't ready for it. He'd been waiting years for this, and it'd pay off as he headed to the finals yet again. Finals are going to be the toughest challenge yet, though. This Celtics team is really good. Hopefully, Kyrie and Carmelo can get it done. In game 1, Rondo's elite playmaking ability gave Denver trouble, just like Chris Paul did a year ago. He was setting the table for his teammates, and they were eating it up to steal game 1 in Denver. The last thing Kyrie was doing was losing both games at home. He turned his play up a notch in game 2, scoring at will, and he got the finals all tied up at 1 game apiece. The real question though is, what could he do with this thing headed into Boston? The answer would be that he would struggle in one of the hardest arenas to perform in, and on the other end, Paul Pierce brought his A game to lead Boston what would be an incredibly convincing win to take a 2-1 lead. Again, Kyrie would respond to the deficit. He'd counterattack in Boston with a win in game 4 to tie the series, and back in Denver, he continued this great play to win back-to-back for the first time in the finals, and was now just 1 win away from a ring. And he'd have a chance to do just that in Boston. This game 6 is all tied up here. Kyrie has the ball, chance to take the lead. One step closer to his ultimate quest for a ring, doing what Iverson couldn't. He has a chance here. 13 seconds left on the shot clock. The ISO with Rondo. Nowhere to go. Rondo's sticking him like Louis, driving in, and he dunks it in the biggest moment of his career. The high flying move. Boston on the other end. Just about a minute to go. Paul Pierce using that Kendrick Perkins screen against that separation 1-on-1 with the native floater. It's off. Kyrie has that chance to extend this lead. This could be the dagger scoring right here. He's slowing it down. Waste some clock. This is smart. 1-on-1 with Rondo. He's sizing him up. He's making his move. Oh, pulling him back. I thought he was going to step back and shoot. Kyrie, 5 seconds left on the shot clock. What's his plan? He's driving in. The step back. The leader. Oh, it's off. Boston has a chance now to tie or take the lead. Ray Allen with it. He's driving in. Ray Allen. He gets fouled. Oh, he's not going to miss a free throw. We have exactly 24 seconds remaining in this match. Ray Allen, of course, hit both free throws. Kyrie has a chance to take the last shot in game 6 of the finals. The game is tied. You can win this thing. You can get a ring. One shot, one final possession. Boston trying to get the biggest stop of these guys' careers. 10 seconds remaining in the clock. Kyrie burning it out. He wants that final buzzer beater. He's driving it in. Kyrie, the hot step, delay, and it's good! Kyrie gives him the lead! Boston has it, 2.9. Are they gonna go for the win or are they gonna go for the tie? Digging in a Rondo from deep. That's a bad three-point shooter. He pulls it. It's off! Kyrie's done it! He's won a ring! Kyrie wins it all! And after 12 long years, Kyrie finally won a ring, but how many rings could Damian Lillard win if he started a ring chase? Jimmy Butler has been on a tear in the playoffs, beating the Bulls, Bucks, Knicks, and the Celtics for a trip to the finals, resulting in comparisons to Michael Jordan. So I gave him MJ's career. Season 1 in Chicago as a rookie, he would have the full green light as the Bulls' primary option, which led to him playing exceptionally well, averaging 22 points per game, 3 boards, and 2 steals a night. These numbers were good enough to earn him his first All-Star appearance as a rookie, but also an extended postseason. They finished with a 20-62 record. Jordan was getting them into the playoffs, and Butler's getting them right back in the lottery. In Season 2, Jimmy would rise to an 85 overall after his experience as a rookie, and these new attributes improved his game in every facet, and he improved all his averages and
enough to land a spot as an all-NBA selection. He had a breakout game versus Magic and the Lakers as he began to establish an identity as a scrappy, energetic defender in this league. He would do all this while sharing the court with George Gervin this season, whose scoring abilities helped elevate Chicago to the 6th seed, and they earned them a trip to the playoffs versus the 76ers.
They played a Sixers team in round 1, and they're stacked, man. Barkley got the Rookie of the Year over Butler last season. They got Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Mo Cheeks. This is gonna be tough.
Butler would be bombarded by double teams here in his playoff debut, but he would take advantage of the opportunities to score and sink in 32 points for his team. But on the other end, Moses Malone could not be contained on the glass, and his size was just far too much to shut down for the Bulls, and they would lose their hopes of stealing game 1. Game 2 would be a tightly contested match from the tip-off until the final moments, with playoff Jimmy carrying the load and positioning Chicago with a chance to take game 2 on the road.
We've got a tie game with 90 seconds left. 1-on-1, a minute 15 to go. They get it over to Trae. Oh, Moses Malone with the ball. He's been killing them all series. Chicago has the ball down to minute left. Is Jimmy gonna attack? Are we gonna see a clutch shot from Jimmy G buckets right here? His legacy starting off on the line. Jimmy to pull up. It's good. He nails it to tie the game. Tony with the ball. They throw to Dr. J. The back door is good. Oh my God. Bulls timeout. He's driving it in. Oh, delay. Oh, it's no good against the board. Delay. Is that good? Is that good? Are they going to review it?
It wasn't good, and game 3 would be in Chicago, with the Bulls desperate to turn this series around. Jimmy was aggressive right away in this match, doing everything in his power to give his team the edge over the experienced 76ers. And when adversity struck, even at his young age, he would showcase his aptitude for leadership.
Bro, Jimmy Butler is only 20 years old, and look at him being a leader, supporting his teammates, trying to rally them together for a win.
But in the end, all this wasn't enough, as Malone would uplift his team in the 3-0 sweep. George Gervin would leave for San Antonio the following season, and the Bulls' window for a deep playoff run was threatening to close, but Jimmy was prepared to prove all of the doubters wrong. All offseason, he would live in the gym, forcing his teammates to tag along in order to make a push for playoff contention after losing 20 points per game Gervin, and they would do just that as they landed a rematch in round 1 versus the Sixers again. Philadelphia wasn't quite as good this year, though, as they'd lose Moses Malone, and this would open things up for Butler to dominate on the road in Philly and take home court advantage after a game 1 victory. Charles Barkley was just as eager as Jimmy, though, and he'd win game 2 and then take the series lead with a game 3 win in Chicago. Butler would refuse to lose both games in Chicago, and he'd get this thing tied up going into a crucial game 5 that they would end up easily winning to take the series. Round 2, they'd run into the bad boy Pistons. They absolutely would live up to that name. This series would be a physical war that would test the willpower of both teams. Every Butler drive would be accompanied by a gruesome foul from Detroit. It wouldn't work, though. Butler's hard work in the gym and muscle mass he built would help him be unbothered by the physicality, and he'd upset Detroit with a 4-2 win. This got him a trip to Boston, where Larry Bird was waiting to bring Jimmy the Bulls back down to reality. Bird showed why he's an all-time great and swiftly sent the Bulls packing with a 4-0 series win. That season wasn't a complete failure, though, as his playoff experience elevated him, and the next year he averaged a career high 33 points per game, and he'd be able to get right back to the conference finals after beating Philly again and New York before meeting Malone once again, who is now on the Bullets. Scottie Pippen was part of the team this year, and he'd be a massive help trying to slow down Malone, who was still feasting on the rebounds, and Butler on offense would assert himself and average 42, 4, and 4 for the series, and he would end up eventually making it to the NBA Finals.
This motherfucker is in the finals. Jimmy Butler has made the finals in only 4 years.
The Lakers with Kareem in the finals would be twice the problem that Malone was. Kareem's skyhook had no reasonable counter, and while Chicago would end up getting a win in game 2, this series was over far before it ever started, as LA would go on to win it all and celebrate their victory. The very next year, they'd fall short and get bounced in round 1.
Jimmy just lost to the Bucks 3-1 in round 1, averaging 40 a game. And the man has like no help. Pippen's only putting in 12 a night.
And season 6 would be even worse. Jimmy will get back on his feet, though. In his 7th year with a major leap in his play, he was genuinely looking like a franchise player. He led the NBA in scoring and dragged his team to the 1st seed in the East, and he would be rewarded for all of this hard work.
Butler actually got an MVP. I didn't know if he would do well in this challenge, but he's crushing it. Now I wonder if he's going to be able to win a championship this season.
Round 1, Washington would be in their way again, and their strategy this time was to force Jimmy to shoot, but it would backfire as he made them pay from deep and sweat the series 3-0. In round 2, the Hornets strategy was even crazier as they had a small doll-sized man matched up versus Butler. The living action figure struggled to check Butler, and the Bulls will also sweep this series 4-0. Cleveland deployed a different tactic though in the conference finals. They led a charge of double teams straight at Jimmy Butler, and with his teammates missing their shots, he'd fall to a 2-0 deficit and a close game 3 risked an insurmountable lead.
With only 13 seconds remaining, I think you have to go for the 3. I'm not sure you can go for the quick 2 in a situation like this. They're out of timeouts. They get it into Scottie Pippen with the ball. John Paxson. What the fuck is that? There is no way! Why would you shoot that? Who the fuck does he think he is?
Mark Price and the Cavaliers would stun the Bulls, and they'd be forced to look forward to the next season after missing the mark in 4.
Hey, in 92, Jimmy Butler got another MVP. That's back-to-back MVPs. He's just missing the championship trophies now.
He would end up being part of the 50-40-90 club after improving his free throw and his 3-point jump shot, but he'd end up being swept in round 1 again by Miami.
They just got swept in round 1 coming off of a back-to-back MVP, man? How is that possible?
As we head into season 9, Jimmy and Scottie will both become 95 overalls, and they would be confident for another playoff run. A rookie Shaq would be in round 1 ready for the challenge though. At this point, the Bulls had lost their last 7 playoff games, and they would be determined to end that streak and would do just that with a win in game 1. Shaq's size was entirely too overwhelming though in game 2, and the series would be all tied up 1-1. Chicago would go on to defeat the Magic in the following 2 games relatively easily and advance to the second round with a manhandle the Charlotte Hornets yet again. And in the conference finals, the New York Knicks would have home court advantage, but it would not help them much. Butler would lead his team to a 3-2 series, and with a down-to-the-wire game 6, he would have a chance to close it out for another trip to the finals.
This possession here is a huge one for Jimmy Butler and his legacy. He needs to get back into the finals if he's going to live up to the legend of Michael Jordan. 1-on-1 here. 13 seconds left of the shot clock. He gets the screen. He's utilizing it, and he steps back to a little mid-range, and he hits it! Puts it back up by 3! If Jimmy Butler and the Bulls score here, they're pretty much guaranteed a trip to the finals. It's in Jimmy's hand. 30 seconds, 15 on the clock. What's he going to do here? You have to imagine he's going to attack. He's not passing his ball. It's in his hands for a reason. He does pass it. He gets it to Williams, out to Armstrong. 3 seconds. Oh, no. Armstrong from deep. Oh! He sinks it! 6-point Bulls lead. Oh, my God. Jimmy Butler, the Bulls are on their way to the NBA Finals. And they got Armstrong holding up that trophy, man. He deserves it. That was a big 3 right there, bro.
This matchup would be against Clyde the Glide Drexler, and he was super eager to earn his first ring. His scoring impact was felt immediately and left the Bulls a bit unprepared as he guided Portland into a Game 1 victory. But from that point forward, it was all the Bulls. The entire team was clicking on all cylinders with no signs of stopping. Their defense was sharp, precise, and would not skip a beat. On offense, they let off a barrage of shots from everywhere, and their time was finally coming to win a championship.
After 9 long seasons, Butler has done it. He's won a championship. He's won a Finals MVP.
After earning a ring, he entered retirement and pursued playing baseball for a year before returning to the NBA for the final 17 games of 1994-1995 season. The Bulls were 33-32 as the 8th seed when he returned, and they would need every single win if they were going to be making the playoffs this year. He played a slower paced game initially, spending a lot more time down low in the post and focusing more on playmaking and getting his teammates involved. This, along with his minute restriction, allowed him to ease back into the NBA speed. The Bulls would win 16 of the final 17 games and earned a trip to the playoffs versus the Bullets. Washington had a very talented young Chris Webber with a ton of athleticism, but by this point, JB was back in full form and he would blow out the Bullets in a series 3-0. Round 2 versus the Knicks had fans convinced early that the flashy Knicks would easily win, and Ewing would be on his way to win his first ring this year, but Jimmy would prove the doubters wrong yet again, winning 4-1. And in the conference finals, it seemed like nothing could stop this Bulls team as they win another series 4-1 versus Detroit. But the finals was the biggest challenge yet. A very good Karl Malone and John Stockton duo just won a Game 7. They were amped to face Chicago. The chemistry between the duo was immeasurable, and their play felt like a gut shot as the Bulls fell 2-0. But Jimmy would be ready headed back to Chicago.
Jimmy Butler! And Butler scores! And one! Jimmy Butler! On! Jimmy Butler ties the game with a half-second to go. What a play call!
And he ties this series up 2-2. And after another Utah win at home, Butler faced elimination in the final seconds of a Game 6.
Game 6 versus the Jazz. Bulls down by 2. Season on the line. Jimmy Butler driving it in. The little lay. That's no good. It rims on out. He had a good look at it. They need a stop here. The season could be over. John Stockton with the ball. The crisscross applesauce. They get it down to Malone. And he slams it over Scotty. Chicago's going to have to score quick here, or it's looking like the season's going to be over. Jimmy Butler with the ball. 48 seconds. Don't have a lot of time to waste. He uses that screen. Gets it down low to Whittington. Oh, but he gets fouled. Bill Whittington hit both free throws. You need one stop. One stop and you have a chance here. Tony Kukoc on Karl Malone is a horrible idea. They bring a double team. Thank you. Oh, this is still bad. They get it back into John Stockton. They want to attack that Karl Malone mismatch. They swing it over to Hornacek. He is not scoring on Jimmy Butler. I refuse to believe. The pick and roll with Karl Malone, though, that is dangerous. They kick it up to Malone for the little pop to pull up Jay. It's no good. They get the board. 19 seconds. Bulls time out. They have a chance. This is a Jimmy Butler legacy moment right here. Down 2. You have got to take the shot here. Get your team to Game 7. This is what legends are made of, man. Jimmy Butler burning the clock. 10 seconds are made. He's dribbling it out. It doesn't look like he wants to pass this. He wants to attack. 6 seconds. Come on, Jimmy. The pull-up. Oh, so good. What it did, the rebound. Delayed. We're headed to overtime. Unless the Jazz get a little tip in here. Last second shot. 0.5 left. That's all they got. They swing it into Stockton. The 3. Oh. It's no good. Butler's legacy may have just been saved by Bill Whittington. And here in double overtime, the Bulls are down 6 with the ball. 42 seconds. Unless a miracle happens here, it's looking like Utah might be taking a championship in this reality. Armstrong gets to the Kukoc. They're going to get it over to Whittington. Jimmy Butler with the ball. He has to go quick. You have to score here. They get it to Simpkins. Armstrong's open for 3. He doesn't shoot that. Are you kidding me? What are you doing? Oh, my God.
The Jazz end up winning, but Jimmy Butler have 45 in this elimination game, but that's 2 finals losses now. And how does that impact his career? The next season, though, Butler will prove he still has some left in the tank.
I can't lie. Season 11, another MVP. I was not expecting that at all. This man averaged 38 a game in season 11.
He would sweep through the playoffs without a single loss until they faced the Supersonics in the NBA Finals. The first year, Bull Dennis Rodman would shut down Seattle's offense with a palpable defensive pressure, and Butler would do what he does on the offensive end, which would be more than enough to earn him his 2nd ring.
And one hell of a playoffs for Jimmy. 36, 6, and 5 a game on this remarkable 2nd championship run.
Season 12, Jimmy would have his eyes on a repeat after gliding through the regular season.
Bro, another MVP is crazy. Is this 3 or 4 MVPs? I think this is 4, right? And the Bulls had another pretty easy path through these playoffs, and they have a rematch with the Utah Jazz.
This series would look the same as it did last time with the duo in control and taking a 3-2 lead, but this time around, Jimmy would make up for his shortcomings in the last matchup.
This time we headed to a Game 7, baby. Oh my God, can Jimmy repeat? This Game 7 is down to the wire. The Bulls are down by 1 in Chicago with over a minute to go. John Stockton with the ball. They're getting it down low to Carl. I don't know why Dennis Rodman is not guarding him instead of Lou Longley. They put a lot of pressure on him, though. They kick it out to Bailey. Bailey nowhere to go. It's in the corner. Jimmy Butler guarding this guy. 1-on-1. He tries to squeeze by. Nowhere to go. They couldn't get that steal, though. The lay is money. Oh my God. This is a huge moment for Jimmy Butler. Down by 3. You have 53 seconds to make something happen. They get it into Jimmy. He's got a Gatorade cup. This man is exhausted. Scottie Pippen is fouled out. He's out on the court. Jimmy's trying to do it all on his own. 1-on-1 here. He gets the Dennis Rodman screen. He's driving it in. Nowhere to go. He's trying to bully his way in there. Delay. He hits it. 1-point game. 38 seconds. Stockton with the ball. They need a stop. They need a stop here. They're trying to find Karl Malone. Luke Hartley down there on him. Malone is tired as well. Malone, the back down. He's in the paint. They can get up to Bailey again. Same sequence as last time. Malone dribbling his thing. Delay. He hits it. Down by 3. Jimmy Butler needs a 3 here to tie it. 17 seconds left. Game 7. This is the biggest 17 seconds of this man's career. Is he going to go for the 3 or the quick 2? It's looking like the 3. You don't have time for the 2 anymore. Jimmy Butler, he is going for the 2. The lay is good. They're going to play the free throw game. Stockton, free throw number 1. This is big. Is he gonna hit it? He drains it. Free throw 2 for Stockton. He hits them both. Bulls timeout. 8.4 seconds. You definitely have to go for the 3 here. You cannot go for the 2. What is Jimmy Butler gonna cook up? In the corner. The pump. Oh, that's a tough shot. He hits it! He fucking hits it! He ties the game! 5.1 left! Oh my God! Can they get it done on the defensive end? Jimmy Butler just hit one of the biggest shots in NBA history. John Stockton with the ball. 1 second, he pulls it from deep.
Again, in year 13, they would push through the playoffs until the finals, where yet again, they would end up facing the Utah Jazz.
This season, though, the Bulls will be in control of the series. They're up 3-1 in a Game 5, trying to close it out. 90 seconds remain, down by 1. Chicago has the ball. They need to take the lead here. Jimmy Butler with it. What's he gonna do? 15 seconds left on the shot clock. He's getting the screen action. He's driving. Step back jumper. Bang! It's good. 1 point Bulls lead. Back in the other end, they need a stop. No Scottie Pippen. I think he's in foul trouble. Stockton, they find Malone down low. He's been doing this for years versus Chicago. The hook over Rodman, that's good. We're gonna need another big shot from Jimmy to take this lead again. They're down by 1. They cannot go out like this. Jimmy needs his revenge. Jimmy, the drive, the pull up. And he hits it! Bulls lead! 54 seconds. They need a stop, man. They need a stop. Always looking like they're trying to find Karl Malone again. They get it to him. Down low, 1-on-1 with Rodman. The hook. It's no good. They get the board. Jimmy Butler has a chance here to secure this win. Extend the lead. Craig Hodges, give it to Jimmy. Craig, what are you doing? Get the ball to Jimmy. 14 seconds to get to him in the corner. He drives by. Hornacek to pull. And he fucking nails it. Jimmy is providing in the clutch. Utah takes the timeout. Look at Jimmy, man. Jimmy G buckets. Down by 3. Utah has 27 seconds. John Stockton did it to him before. Can he do it again? He gets it to Malone. They're going for the 2, it looks like. It looks like they're going for the 2. Malone, he starts open in the corner. He takes the pull. That's no good. He's at the line. He can seal the deal here. The first free throw, and he nails it. Jimmy in Chicago for ring 3. It's good. As long as Utah does not have a trick up their sleeve, this one's pretty much over. Morris, pump, the shot. It's no good, and that'll do it. Jimmy and the Bulls have done it again, man. Butler closes this one out with 56 points and an exclamation point for ring number 3.
Following that ring, he'd retire for a couple of seasons before playing 2 more seasons with Washington that didn't result in much more than a final farewell to Jimmy. His career was packed with success and kind of has me feeling like MJ might have been a fraud, but you guys are gonna have to let me know in the comments. I know for sure though that Curry isn't a fraud in the China League, which you can see how well he did by clicking on this video here. We're going all the way back to the year 1996, and we have a rookie Kobe Bryant. But we're gonna be giving his career to Jason Tatum. Season 1 is gonna of course be in Los Angeles, but it is not Tatum's team yet. Shaquille O'Neal is running this team, scoring the basketball, defending the paint, and grabbing all the rebounds. But even with Shaquille O'Neal taking full control of this Los Angeles Lakers roster, Jason Tatum still had himself a very solid rookie campaign, averaging just under 13 points per game, 5 rebounds, and even bringing in a steal and an assist per game. But these performances were not enough to make the playoffs, as the Lakers ended up with the 12th seed in the West. But luckily, the season is not a complete loss, as Tatum is going to get +4 shooting badges, because after every single season, Tatum is going to get a spin on this wheel that's going to give him a slight boost along with his own progression. Going into season 2, Jason Tatum is now an 84 overall and quickly put these shooting badges to use, as he is shooting 47% from the 3, and his chemistry with Shaquille O'Neal is becoming apparent very quickly, but unfortunately they still missed the playoffs yet again. But season 3 would be something different. On his wheel spin, he gained +1 to all his defensive badges, and this is going to absolutely turn him into a two-way force out there on the court. Those badges in his offseason training now have him as an 89 overall going into season 3, and this time around Jason Tatum will have his hands all over the game, as he is emerging as a true co-star to Shaquille O'Neal and not just along for the ride. This year he averaged 20 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists a night, and helped land his team the best record in basketball. And in round 1, they run into the Sprewell-led Warriors, and they are expecting an easy 4-0 sweep, as they have a lot more talent than this Golden State team. And then heading into Golden State for game 4, they actually find themselves with the season on the line
line down 3-0. With over a 20-point lead with just minutes left in this game 4, the Warriors pull off one of the biggest upsets in NBA history. Tatum averaged 19 points a game and combined that with Shaq's 21 a game, but the rest of the supporting cast was just not enough to help this Lakers team get a win. But in Tatum's 4th season, this Lakers team is coming back even better than before as they add Stephon Marbury and Tony Kukoc to this roster to earn a first-round rematch versus the Golden State Warriors. And this time around, the Lakers are not going to be caught off guard as they win game 1, game 2, game 3, and close out the sweep in game 4. But their celebrations are going to have to be short because in round 2, they play a very talented, up-and-coming Dirk Nowitzki. The Lakers start off the series with an early 2-1 lead, but here in game 4, we have a close one, Memphis trying to tie the series. This is definitely a big possession for Los Angeles. They're only up by 1 with just over a minute to go. They got Tatum on the court. They do got Shaq in the court. They got Austin handling the ball in a pick and roll with Shaq. The pull-up Jay. It's no good. Shaq gets the board. They got too much size. Shaq's lay is good. They're up by 3. We got Andre Miller here on the Grizzlies. Looking for a pick and roll. They're going to get Dirk involved. He's by far the best player. They put him in the post. The patented fadeaway in the post. It is good. Another Lakers possession. You have to be scared if you're a Lakers fan. If they get a stop here, the Grizzlies have a great chance to take the lead with Dirk down low in the post. You cannot stop that fade. Out in the drive, the pull-up, that's going to be no good. Shaq is the board again, and he's saving his team's career. Memphis used their last timeout to draw up a play here. You have to think that they're probably going to go for a 3 instead of playing a free throw game. A 3 and try to get a stop. They inbound it backcourt to Anderson. Dirk's down low in the post. He's a good shooter. You can have him pop for 3. They got him in the post, though. He's going for a fadeaway again. The fake. He caught me off guard. 1-on-1. Backing him down. Now he goes to the fade. And it's no good. That could do it unless they miss some free throws. And the second one is good. They make both. They have a 5-point lead with 13 seconds. And unless the Memphis Grizzlies have a miracle in them, it's going to be over. They pulled a quick 3. That's no good. They get the board, and that'll do it. Up 3-1. And after being down 3-1, the Grizzlies claw back and force a game 7. And in game 7, Tatum takes over in a historical match, sinking in 7 threes and dropping 42 points to take his team to the conference finals. And their conference finals matchup won't be easy as they face the MVP Steve Nash in the Dallas Mavericks. But after that win, the Lakers get eliminated yet again in game 6. And the next season will be no better as again they lose in the second round of the playoffs. Until finally in Tatum's 6th season, they face the defending champ Nets in the finals. This Nets team is very deep, but they did lose their finals MVP from last year in Kevin Garnett. And in Tatum's first ever finals appearance here in LA in games 1 and 2, he was the focus point and controlled the offense to help lead his team not only to a 1-0 lead, but a 2-0 lead headed into New Jersey for game 3. And they don't hold anything back in New Jersey as they take the series lead 3-0, and they close out this series in 4 with the clean sweep of the New Jersey Nets. Jason Tatum was not able to get the finals MVP as that went to Shaq, but he still averaged some very solid numbers here in the playoffs and should enjoy the celebrations as he prepares for the offseason in which he becomes a free agent for the first time. Unlike Kobe, who stayed with the Lakers his whole career, Tatum decides to leave as he signs a 4-year, $75 million deal with the Denver Nuggets. His time with the Lakers ended up with 1 NBA championship and 4 All-Star appearances, and he now joins his teammates Mike Bibby and Manu Ginobili as the Denver Nuggets attempt to win their first ever NBA championship. This year's wheel spin is huge now that Tatum is the #1 option on his team, and he's going to get 4 extra playmaking badges. And honestly, we're going to put all 4 in a quick first step just so he becomes a more dominant player himself. And this season with his new Nuggets teammates, he found a lot of success thanks to their great shooting he had surrounding him, and he put up a career high versus the Oklahoma City Thunder with 45 points, and he led his team to the #1 overall seed. And for this Denver Nuggets team, the trip through the playoffs was an absolute cakewalk, gentlemen sweeping every round as they face off with Tim Duncan in the Celtics in the NBA Finals. And in game 1, Tim Duncan completely overwhelmed the Nuggets with 31-19 and the W. But in game 2, Denver made adjustments and they were forcing double teams on Tim Duncan, and they were able to win the game and tie the series. And then in game 3, the Celtics don't seem to have a single answer for Jason Tatum as he leads the Nuggets
to a huge 50-point blowout win. Tim Duncan's able to claw back into the series and tie it up 2-2, though, headed back to Denver. Game 5, Tatum had one of the biggest games of finals history, pouring in 51 points. And with the Celtics taking game 6 in a blow, we're primed for a game 7. And this game 7 is coming down to the wire. The Celtics are up by 4 with a minute 19 left. Mike Bibby is taking his second of 2 free throws, trying to cut the lead down to 3, and he does. Boston has the ball here with Tim Duncan as their go-to option. He has been a huge issue for Denver all game, but they find the steal. Zach Randolph gets it on the pick and roll. Bibby all the way, the lay. It's no good. And Smits gets the rebound. The Celtics have another chance here. You got to think they want to go back to Tim Duncan yet again. They're going for that same pick and roll. They find Timmy this time, and he dunks it. We are in Denver, and their season is on the line. Down 5 with less than a minute. You have to score here. This is almost a must score, or you're losing the game type of a situation. And they do not have Jason Tatum involved. It's Manu Ginobili to pump. Nowhere to go. They get it down to Randolph. 6 seconds left in the shot clock. Ginobili pump fake in the corner. Terrible shot. It's no good. And they get the board, and they're going to start the foul game. Tim Duncan has 32 points here, shooting 62% from the field this game. I just don't understand how Jason Tatum was not involved in that sequence there. That is your best player on the team. That has to feel like a mistake. Down by 7 with 30 seconds left. The Denver Nuggets gonna fall in game 7. Tatum had a chance here. After 1 year without Shaq, he had a chance to prove himself that he doesn't need Shaq to win. He had a chance to do what Kobe couldn't for 6 years, and he fell short to the Boston Celtics, much like Kobe in 2008. And you can literally see the heartbreak on Jason Tatum as he scored 30 points on 9 for 13 shooting. You have to wonder, why did he only take 13 shots? In Tatum's first finals without Shaq, he averaged 25, 6, and 2. And things are only going to get harder from here as a new king is joining the league. The following seasons weren't that great either, as they were bounced in the conference finals of season 8. And then in season 9, they completely missed the playoffs as they were dealing with injuries all year. And going into year 10 of his career, Jason Tatum faces free agency with a player option, which he ends up declining and joins the Dallas Mavericks with Chauncey Billups as his only other decent player. There's going to be another 3-year deal with that 4th year as a player option. And in season 1 with the Dallas Mavericks, Jason Tatum takes home his first piece of hardware with the most valuable player award. This was only good enough though to get his team the 6th seed versus the number 3 seed Minnesota Timberwolves in round 1. And they're led with all NBA first team guard Gilbert Arenas. And with the series currently 3-1, they're down by 3 with 55 seconds left. Minnesota has the ball. They have to get a stop here, and then they still have to score just to tie it, just to have a chance to go to game 6 and try to come back in this series. It's not looking good. Arenas in the paint, that's no good. They get the rebound. They at least have a chance here. 40 seconds left, down by 3. Do you go for the quick 2 or you look for the 3? Brandon Knight, no way to let him touch the ball here in the clutch. Jason Tatum, pull up. No good. And yet again, Tatum falls in the playoffs. In the following season, this Dallas Mavericks team added some new pieces like JJ Redick, and they were competing, but they just were not good enough to make the playoffs as Tatum misses it yet again. And with Tatum now going into the final year on his Dallas Mavericks contract, this is a huge year, and I wonder, could we see Tatum leave yet again? And as you can see, the Dallas Mavericks have drafted Kevin Durant. They lost their second best player in Billups, but they did add a rookie KD. Can this be enough for Dallas to make a run? And the answer is no, as Dallas just barely misses the number 8 seed. And can you really blame them with a roster like this? The only other decent player is rookie Kevin Durant. And Jason Tatum has declined his player option, so there is a good chance he leaves Dallas. And unfortunately, Tatum left for Memphis. I would have loved to see what he could have done with KD. But on the bright side, he joins one of the best guards in the league in Gilbert Arenas. And can we talk about how this doesn't even look right, seeing Haslam outside of a Heat jersey? Tatum's new team was able to make it to the first round as the 8th seed, but they were gentlemen swept by his former team, the Nuggets. That one has to hurt a little extra. Tatum is actually starting to digress a little bit down to a 93 overall, but he is still getting a wheel spin. I just haven't been showing it. This time he gets plus 10 to his block. And this year the Grizzlies team puts together a much better season as Arenas gets another MVP. Tatum has a good year and they are in the 3rd seed, going up against the Allen Iverson Houston Rockets. Allen Iverson and the Rockets were putting up quite the fight here in this first round, stealing game 2, but all in all the Memphis Grizzlies were too much with MVP Arenas, Brook Lopez playing great on defense, and Jason Tatum carrying this team in the offensive scoring load to a 4-1 victory over the Houston Rockets in round 1. And in round 2, they actually faced the 7th seed Oklahoma City Thunder, who do not look like much of a threat, but they currently have Memphis down 3-1 in do or die time. And with the season on the line, we have a close one in Memphis. 28 seconds, down by 1. What is OKC gonna do? Tony Parker is isoing with the MVP. Tony Parker driving it in. He gets caught in a double. He still tries to go up. They kick it out. Williamson down to Parker. Shot clock. The post fade. He faked it. He drew the foul. Unbelievable. Gilbert Arenas can't believe this shit. Tony Parker is at the line with a chance to take the lead and possibly the series. Free throw 1. He's a fantastic free throw shooter. He nails the first for the lead. The second free throw. Will Tony Parker deliver? He does! 1-point lead. Grizzlies timeout. It'll be interesting to see what they draw up in the huddle. They have 2 fantastic options. They have Gilbert Arenas. They have Jason Tatum. They even have Brook Lopez as a post option. I don't know if I'd go to that with Joakim. No, he's a fantastic defender. It's looking like it's going to be Arenas. Tatum is trying to get involved here. He's trying to create some separation. Tatum's in the corner open. Arenas definitely traveled, but he hits the layup. Timeout Thunder. The MVP with the season on the line. I can't lie. Is this a travel? Let me know. I think that was clean. He makes it. Memphis lead. OKC with 3 seconds left on the clock. The ability to possibly send Jason Tatum home. What are they going to do? Oh, they pass it out deep. He just walks into a 3. It's no good. The Grizzlies force a game 6. Tatum with elimination at risk led his team with 32 points. And game 6 has another close one on our hands. This time, OKC's up by 2. With just shy of a minute to go, they have the ball. The Grizzlies first have to get a stop here. No stop here. They're going to be in a very tough situation. Tony Parker to pull up, and he drains it in. Tatum was late on the help. Down by 4. You have to go quicker. They get it to Gilbert Arenas. They're looking to go quick. You can have a 2-for-1 here. You have to go quick, though. Arenas has to do something. You're going to have to play the foul game. He's wasting a lot of time. He's driving it in. The pull-up instead of the lay. That's no good. And I think Oklahoma City is going to be taking this one home. And yet again, Tatum is eliminated in the playoffs. With all these playoff knockouts, I'm starting to think Jason Tatum's getting carried by Jaylen Brown in real life. And this is funny right here. Finals MVP Kevin Durant, the Dallas Mavericks. If he would have just stuck with Dallas, he could have had a ring. And yet again, Jason Tatum is in a contract year, and he's shown pretty much no loyalty to this point, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And at this point of his career, 15 years in, you're starting to see a little bit of regression after peaking at 30 points per game with Dallas, dropping progressively this past season, not even hitting the 23 points per game mark. And halfway into this season is not looking good, as their current conference rank is sitting at 10th place. And I don't know what happened from the 3rd seed last year to the 12th this year, but it's not looking good for Tatum's career. And Jason Tatum shows absolutely no loyalty at all as he joins the Cleveland Cavaliers, finally goes out to the East. But this team has one of the worst rosters in the league, and things are not looking good for the back end of Tatum's career. And with yet another playoff miss, you have to wonder, is Tatum even gonna make the Hall of Fame? And to add insult to injury, the Mavericks win yet another NBA championship with KD taking Finals MVP. And going into the season, their roster actually got worse, and I'm starting to fear he's gonna miss it again. They end up missing the playoffs again the next season, and again the following season, with the the worst record in the NBA. I mean, look at this roster, for crying out loud, and Tatum himself is regressing. I mean, seriously, this is some sick work. 4 of the last 5 championships have gone to the Dallas Mavericks, who have Kevin Durant and Dirk Nowitzki. He should have stayed there and he would have been a dynasty player. And we're in yet another playoffs with no Tatum. He's going to be going to the free agency. The Lakers finally win. And at the age of 37, with no years left on his contract, it'll be interesting to see if he signs one more deal and plays more as a role player in chase of a championship, or if he retires. And it doesn't look like he's ready to retire quite yet. And he's joined the Toronto Raptors team, where he's reunited with Zach Randolph. And things aren't going so good with his new team, as this is his second injury he's already had this season. They've even added the play-in tournament, and this man still cannot make the playoffs. It's been like 6 seasons in a row. And his current contract thought is that he's accomplished all he can in the league and it's time to move on. I believe that means he will be retiring at the end of this season. Here's a look at his award history. He was an MVP at one point, an NBA champion, and a 16-time All-Star, and he made a total of 3 All-NBA teams. Let me know in the comments before we advance if you guys think he is going to make it to the NBA Hall of Fame. And now for the moment of truth, Hall of Fame inductees. Let's simulate to it and see. And Jason Tatum did make it to the Hall of Fame with his 1 championship. He averaged 21.6 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, 2 assists a game, 1.3 steals a game, and just shy of a block a game. For a man that idolizes Kobe, we gave him Kobe's career, and to me, he really fell short. Let me know what you guys think. He only won 1 ring with Shaq, was not able to do it without Shaq, and I think a lot of that had to do with his lack of loyalty, switching teams at the end of every contract. If he would have stayed put in Dallas, he could have won so many with Dirk and Kevin Durant. But farewell, Jason Tatum. You'll never be Kobe Bryant.